Good evening. Welcome to the Conservation Commission meeting of October 16th, 2024. The Wareham Conservation Commission will hold a meeting under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, the Town of Wareham Wetland Protection Bylaw Division 6, and any other applicable laws. All hearings of the Wareham Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Town of Wareham Wetland Protection Bylaw Division 6. Although a single decision of the Commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. All matters may involve a decision and possible vote. I see a quorum, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Paula Jean O'Neill.
Autumn Wood.
Sandy Slavin.
Kwame Barty.
Denise Schultz.
Joseph Still.
And
Joshua Faraday, sorry.
okay, Josh, typical, please. Swear to tell the truth and the whole truth regarding all matters brought before us tonight.
I do.
Thank you very much. We have a quorum. Open the meeting. We've had a roll call. I guess we're ready for our first hearing, please.
Notice of public hearing. Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held in room 520 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Massachusetts, on Wednesday, October 16th, 2024, at 6 p.m. On the request for determination of applicability for repurposed properties, P.O. Box 334, Buzzards Bay, Massachusetts, 02532. This project involves repaving and expanding an existing paved driveway, installation of a new utility pole, and the installation of underground utilities, such as water, gas, and electric, associated with the construction of a single-family home. Map 41, Lot 1017, 65 Great Neck Road, Wareham, Massachusetts. I motion to open the hearing.
I have that motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
500. The hearing is open. Who's here to represent this project? Please come forward and identify yourself.
Sam Imelli, JC Engineering.
Sam? Okay. I know. Wait a second. IAMELE?
Yep.
Okay. Sam, raise your hand. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth regarding the project of 65 Great Neck Road.
I do.
Thank you. Okay, Sam, you're up. Talk to us about it.
All right. Does anybody need plan copies or? Yes, two.
Thank you.
I printed mine.
Thank you.
All right. The property here at 65 Great Neck Road. This is a vacant lot, approximately 18,000 square feet that fronts on Great Neck Road. The lot is long and narrow in shape, and about the first 80 feet or so of the lot lies within the flood zone. The overall project involves the construction of a new single-family dwelling. However, only a small portion of work will take place within the flood zone. That work including expanding upon and repaving an existing driveway, installing a new utility pole, and installing underground utilities associated with the new dwelling. The entire house and septic system will be located towards the rear of the lot and outside of these resource areas. Aside from that, I can answer any questions the board may have.
Okay, I will ask around. Paula Jean.
Can you come back to me?
I will try to remember. Autumn.
No questions, thank you.
Kwame.
The Legion, where's the Legion Field? Is that on the,
Way in the back.
way in the
Shown
back?
in blue in the back.
Yeah, and I saw that staked out, so,
That's outside of us.
yeah, that's way outside of us, so I have no further questions, thanks.
Okay.
Denise.
Trees, what trees were coming down?
Within the flood zone, we really wouldn't anticipate any needing to be. There's a few shown on the plan there, but the underground utilities will most likely be able to meander around those.
And the utility pole is going next to the other utility pole, correct?
Correct, yes.
And that was my only questions. Thank you.
Joe?
None for me.
I have no questions. Oh, yeah, back to Paula Jean, sorry.
Okay, so none of those trees, I'm just making sure, are going to be moved. There were some good-sized maples there, old cedar.
Yeah.
They were just in the footprint of the house then, is that correct?
The one shown on
But
the,
within the stakes, yeah.
yes, within the
So they all
stakes.
have to go?
Those would have to go,
Okay.
correct.
Well, one concern I had is that as I walked up the driveway, it slopes downward toward the road. And across the road is the marsh in the woods there. So is the driveway, what materials are you going to use? Are you going to make it a pervious asphalt or pervious concrete? Because that water's just gonna run right down on a
Right.
new smooth driveway.
So as you see on the plan, there's an existing driveway already on the property, and that feeds the property next door. The two parties have agreed to kind of use the same apron there and V off with separate
Right.
driveways. So we'd essentially be utilizing most of that paved driveway and simply expanding maybe about 4 feet to,
Because the driveway is pretty old and cruddy, and so that has holes and broken parts, which is good for water to run through it. But a new, smooth paved, seal-coated driveway means the water can just go straight shoot right down to the road. And I would love to see it be a pervious surface.
What would your recommendation be?
Well, I've been doing some research this week about what's available. There are pervious pavers, there's such a thing as pervious cement, and there's also a pervious asphalt. The one drawback with the pervious asphalt is that if sand gets on it, it does
It doesn't
eventually
work.
fill the pores and has to be swept, and there are companies that provide that service.
So what part of that parking, of that driveway is within our purview? I think we've got less than 30 feet.
you see the flood zone line there is
Yep.
about 80 feet into the lot, give or
Okay.
take. And what's existing right now is approximately 8-foot wide driveway.
Would you be making the driveway wider? Or just at the bottom?
Yeah, slightly expanding it to about 12 feet, just to,
At the bottom, off of Great Neck.
right, yes. So after the apron kind of necks down, just expanding the side there.
Were you given any consideration for the runoff that currently comes off of that driveway?
We hadn't, it seems like a very minor increase of pavement and the closest wetlands on the opposite side of Great Neck Road, so we hadn't taken too much into consideration in that
Where is the
aspect.
stormwater drain on Great Neck Road for this
There's a
property?
catch basin at the bottom right-hand side of the lot there, just inside.
Oh, that's the CB?
Yes,
But that's
correct.
nowhere near the driveway.
The road slopes down in that
Toward it?
direction.
So anything coming off the driveway, or you're saying will be caught in that catch basin?
Correct.
Josh, any comments on this?
None.
Anybody in the audience? Online? Paula Jean, do you want to say anything else about this?
No, it just, looking at the old driveway, it didn't look like it was going to be a problem because of the way it's old and the water is not going to get ripping, but I pictured the shiny new driveways that people put in and could see the water, flowing right down and into the road. And then it has to hit the road before it goes to that catch basin, is that correct?
Right, it would hit the
Yeah,
road and then
It would have to
travel.
go down and be in the road before it gets to it. So I just thought if that were a pervious surface, that would be fantastic. It would be a huge improvement. I'm thinking to the future.
So it says a portion of the existing driveway will be repaved and expanded,
Correct.
Correct.
Over to that green line there shown on the right-hand side of that.
so he can drive right up into his garage,
Right.
which means all that soil and grass within that green expansion will now be dug up and made into a driveway, correct? It says proposed driveway.
Correct. However,
If I
the
take-
portion,
If I take the garage and just extend the garage right down to Great Neck Road, that will all be paved.
correct, yes, to gain access to your garage, yes.
Even the old side is going to be paved new?
The existing driveway,
Correct.
yeah, just kind of repaved over. Grades are essentially matching what's there now, so it's not going to be any steeper than what's there now.
I'd like to see some attempt made to capture that runoff before it made the Great Neck Road. Anything that could be done, Josh? I know we only have a portion of that driveway within our privy, but the water still runs.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of something that accomplishes that and accomplishes what Sam's presenting. I almost think maybe one of those cobblestone, cobble aprons. You see them a lot. They usually precede a shell driveway, but that may slow the water and allow for a little infiltration.
How wide are they, though? It's only
You would
like a
make
couple
it-
of feet. Usually you see that at the edge where it
Yeah,
meets the
yeah,
road. It's not very...
usually it's, I don't know, maybe 5 feet or so.
I know, that's, you know, when it's all repaved, it's essentially, the entire driveway will function as a brand-new driveway all the way up. So, you know, the tsunami can come right down into
The
road.
existing driveway will not be removed, just paved over.
Correct.
So to remove it, in order to put in the bricks, the stones, would be, okay.
But that would just be at the end of the driveway, correct? You remove what's at the end, which is...
Well, define
roughly
in, 5 feet, 6 feet, 8 feet.
Well, I don't know how far an apron goes. How far do you...
What is the length of the driveway from the street up to the proposed garage? I'm sure you have that figure. or-
About 120 feet or so.
Yeah, 119.3, it looks like.
The 119.3 goes up to the porch.
To the porch, and then
Porch, and then
add
you've
another
got-
10 feet, maybe 130.
Yeah, 130 maybe.
And the
that's a lot
garage
of
is,
surface.
yeah, yeah. Well, what do you want? What would you like to do? Josh, any recommendation? I mean, can we within the,
I would say any stipulations you're gonna put on this should be maintained to your jurisdiction.
only through,
First of all.
yes. So we're limited to what they're saying that, where did it go? Proposed driveway, 36 feet up? Am I reading that right? Yes, 36 feet up is the impact we have, and 20 feet wide.
Yeah, well, I would say you have jurisdiction over the flood zone.
Up to the, all the way up to the flood zone.
Yep, but
So how many feet is that?
I think that the idea is to try to capture the water before it goes on the Great Neck, as we think of probably no more than 8 feet, 6 to 8 feet along the,
I think if it at least doesn't capture it, it's gonna slow it down.
yes.
Well, what if from the edge of the Great Neck up until just the flood zone portion, which is our jurisdiction, that it was a pervious surface rather than the impervious asphalt?
Well, I think it would just, my concern is that somewhere down the line, they're going to have to do some plowing for the snow, and I wouldn't want the whole half of the driveway
Oh, so
a
taking
brick
that
type thing. Steve, I'll let you come up in a minute. Okay. I wouldn't go that far up. I would probably keep it closer to the Great Neck Road, probably no more than 6 to 8 feet up the driveway, as opposed to the whole thing, just because of what's necessary.
Cobblestone apron, or what type, just a pervious apron of
Some type of some type of material in which is pervious that will allow the water to slow down before it gushes onto Great
Great
Neck
Neck Road. Okay.
and over that type of thing. But I don't want half of the driveway to be that. I think we're talking no more than 6 to 8 feet. Comments? Steve, you want to come up and introduce yourself, please?
Steve Sui from Repurposed Properties. So we'd be okay doing impervious, or doing a pervious driveway up to, say, 15, 20 feet from the garage.
You go up, all the way up to the garage.
Yeah, we'll do either shells or a stone driveway going up, and then just have an area in front of the garage that we can pave.
So 20 feet up the driveway?
No, that's-
No,
15 feet.
15 feet.
15
All
feet.
the way up.
we'd go from the Great Neck Road all the way up to close, probably 20 feet off the garage.
And that would all be pervious materials?
Pervious material, yeah.
That'd be-
And if you were to use shell, will you be putting some type of, sorry, would you be putting some type of stone barrier between the
We'd have some
shell,
kind of apron.
apron between the shell and Great Neck? Because I don't want
Yes.
those shells washing onto
Yeah,
Great Neck. And
We'd probably do an asphalt at that point, just an asphalt hump, kind of going in to maintain that.
Okay.
say that, to keep the shells from going out on the road.
Correct, correct. Keep the shells going out the road, and it also would eliminate the water from rushing down.
What about plowing? Snow removal?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just gotta keep the blade up a little bit.
okay. So what we're talking about is that driveway that it's proposed, it would be how many feet up from the road before it becomes a shell?
Probably a 5-foot apron, and then.
And
then
that
we'd do
apron would,
shell
5 foot up, and what would that be made of?
Asphalt.
And what would you be doing, so we're talking another, I mean, how many more feet as shells? I've lost track.
We had about 100,
130 to the garage.
so yeah, about 130 feet to the garage, so we'd go
50
5-foot apron and then, so
50, 60,
probably about 100 feet,
100 feet up?
yeah, close to it.
And what will you do to prevent the shell from coming on the asphalt?
That would be the reason for the 5-foot apron,
Okay,
asphalt apron, so that.
so the
that would
shell will
stop.
be kept on the apron.
Correct, correct. The apron has a little higher height than the shells.
Okay. Any other comments?
I just need Steve's last name, how to spell it.
Suey?
How to spell it.
Sooy.
Oh, that was easy. Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, Steve and I were on the Affordable Housing Trust for quite a while. I was either chair or he was chair, so we've worked together for a long time. Yes. Okay. So, no other comments made, so I'm looking for a modification in the plan to show a 5-foot asphalt apron off of Great Neck, and then 100 feet of shell up to the, just shy of the garage. Is that what I'm hearing?
It's the remainder of the driveway,
Well,
basically.
up
right?
to the garage. Well,
Yeah.
he wants a
In front of the
pavement
garage.
paved in front of the garage.
That's what you heard.
Will there be a place for them to turn around at the garage before they, is there a turnaround?
Yes,
There is a small turnaround there on the left-hand side.
Oh, I see it, a little bit further. So maybe you do the shell up to the turnaround?
correct, yeah, that'd be perfect.
Because you don't want to turn around in the shell, because you'll just disturb them constantly. So it'll be up to the point in which you have the green turnaround, which is identified on the left side of the plan,
Yep, that'd be perfect.
up to the turnaround. Would you like to see the plan, or indicate we'll approve it with Josh final approval when he sees the final plan? Would you be fine with doing that tonight?
Yes.
No other comments to be made from the public? Or?
Nope.
You're- Okay,
A motion to close the hearing?
Motion to close the hearing?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500. Your recommendation, Josh?
-3, -6, and the condition of a 5-foot asphalt apron along Great Neck Road, 100 feet of pervious driveway, and asphalt driveway before the garage turnaround area.
So moved.
That's the
Second.
motion.
Second.
And I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you, Paula Jean.
You're welcome.
Next one, please.
On the request for determination of applicability for Robert C. and Deborah J. Benson, 64 Pilgrim Avenue, Wareham, Massachusetts, 02571. Construction of a screened porch in the location of an existing deck, map 50F, lot 125, 64 Pilgrim Avenue, Wareham, Massachusetts. I motion to open the hearing.
I have that motion. And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 6. And who's here representing the project?
Good evening, Brad Bertolo with JC Engineering.
Okay, Brad, please swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth regarding the project at 64 Pilgrim Ave. Thank you. All right, Brad, you're up.
Thank you. Again, Brad from JC Engineering. This property is located at 64 Pilgrim Ave, down in the Hamilton Beach area. This is strictly a flood zone only project. Currently, there's an existing single-family dwelling and a deck that's on 2 sides of the dwelling. The property owners would like to convert the deck to a screened porch. So it's going to involve removing the deck structure, installing some sonotube footings, some beefier footings to support the roof, and then reconstruct the porch in the same footprint as the existing deck. The only digging anticipated would be the installation of the sonotubes. We're not proposing any grade changes, and it's a very relatively flat site, so shouldn't be any impacts to surface water runoff from the project.
Okay, thank you. Paula Jean, questions?
None, thank you.
Autumn,
No questions, thank you.
Kwame,
No questions, thanks.
Denise.
The footprint, is it going to be in the front or just on the side of the house?
Well, there's going to be a small roof attached to the front of the structure over that existing porch or deck, and then the screened porch itself is just the 8-foot by 21-foot area.
Okay. And usually when there is some type of runoff that comes off of that, it goes into something in the ground. Sandy, I can't remember what those are called.
Gutters?
No, but it comes off the gutters and into the ground.
French drain?
No, dry wells.
Dry wells, something to catch the runoff from the new part of the structure.
Yeah, it's a minimal increase in roof area, and it's relatively level, and it's going into a grassed area, so there shouldn't really be any impacts from the roof area.
Okay.
Joe?
No questions for me.
The existing support structures for that deck, will they be cut off and you leave the cement that's been poured in place, or?
I took a look at it. Some of them might have to come out because they're probably in the same locations.
Is where you want to put the
as you wanna put a
sonotube?
yeah.
Okay. So there could be some removing of existing cement?
Cement, yeah, we don't know how deep they go. Could just be below the surface and very easily removed
Okay.
by hand.
Josh, any comments?
Nope.
Anybody online or in the audience would like to speak to this project? I'm seeing none.
A motion to close the hearing.
Have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained. The hearing is closed. Josh, your recommendation?
-2, -6.
So moved.
I have that motion. It's been
Second.
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. You're done, and thank you. And see Josh for your paperwork before you start anything.
All right, thank you.
Next, please.
On the request for determination of applicability for Claudio Raposo, 6 Barnacle Road, Wareham, Massachusetts, 02571. Replace steps leading into river that washed away during January storm. Map 46A-2, Lot 151, 6 Barnacle Road, Wareham, Massachusetts. I motion to open the hearing.
I have that motion. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. The hearing is open. Please identify yourself so they can hear you.
I'm Claudio Raposo. I'm the homeowner at 6 Barnacle Road, Wareham.
Okay. I swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth regarding the project 6 Barnacle Road.
I do.
Thank you. Claudia, have a seat. Then you can talk to us about this project.
In this past January, while on one of the storms, our stairway that leads from our walkway out into the river washed away, and so we just want to replace it. There's a set of really old concrete steps that were probably there, 60, 70 years ago, and these wooden stairs were built before we had the house over them, so we're just looking to replace what we had lost during the storm.
So you'll be building over the ones that are existing there now? Okay.
Correct.
Questions, Paula Jean?
No, I think it looks straightforward, thank you.
Autumn?
No questions, thank you.
Kwame?
No questions, thank you.
Denise?
My only question was, you have a boat sitting in the sand.
Yes.
I don't think that's supposed to be there.
Josh, you want to comment on what Mr. Buckminster allows?
So it appears that he allows, and
The
he
harbor
actually
master.
issues permits for dinghies that, you must have it on an outhaul, and the boat that you have on your beach.
Yep.
How do you use it?
How do I use it? Just basically to go out to my boat as a tender.
So the harbor master does issue permits for that to happen.
So that boat can stay right where it is. I just wanted to know,
Yeah,
because it was
no.
sitting there. And there's a line that runs, that's tied around the end of your deck or something, and then it goes out into the water. What is that?
That's just an anchor, just so that the boat doesn't float away.
So it's an anchor for the, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Joe?
None for me.
Josh, any comments?
How do you plan on attaching the steps to anything?
I am going to attach, my plan is to attach to the existing seawall that's there, the concrete, and then that was one question that I had on whether or not I could do this. My plan is to either water jet the 6x6 into the riverbed, or whether or not I could use concrete and sonotubes. So for the steps, and so that basically I have the board and then the steps going down, and where the steps anchor, because before there was nothing there, and they used to float up and down. I think that's what caused it to break. So placing 2 6x6s to attach the bottom step so that it doesn't float up and down.
If you're proposing to attach it to the seawall, I think this application is fine. If you're proposing to put footings into the coastal beach, that would require a different filing.
Okay, so I'll just attach it to the existing seawall.
Sorry. I'm writing as fast as I can. Is there anybody here or online to comment on this particular project? Please come forward and identify yourself.
My name is Galen Locke. I'm a director of Butter, 8 Barnacle Road, right next door.
Okay, please have a seat. And your comments, please.
I approve of it. I have wooden steps similar to what he's going to build. They've been there forever, since Hurricane Bob. He had to put another set in. So I approve it.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate your comments. Anybody else? Seeing none.
I motion to close the hearing.
I have a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
And I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain. Hearing is closed.
Thank you.
You're not done yet?
Wait, We're not
No,
done
no,
yet.
yeah, no.
We got one
The
more vote
hearing
to
is
go.
closed. Josh, your recommendation?
-3. The steps will be attached to the seawall, no footings installed in the coastal beach, and a -6.
Second?
So moved.
Oh, so moving to second, all in favor? Aye.
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 It's 500. Have I been saying 600 all evening?
Kind of, back and forth.
Well, it's 500. To the person taking the minutes, only 5 of us. So, all right, so we're done, it's approved. See Josh before you start any work, okay, for this paperwork?
Yep, thank
Thank you
you.
very much, have a good evening. Okay, next one, please.
On the request for determination of applicability for Robert Comeau, P.O. Box 732, Southeastern Massachusetts, 02375. Remove broken and decayed steps and replace with schematic proposed work drawings attached. Map 11, Lot 319, 9 15th Street, Wareham, Massachusetts. I motion to open the hearing.
Anybody online, anybody here for this or online? Then I make a motion,
Table to the end of the meeting.
all right,
I was expecting them to be here. I didn't hear anything otherwise.
all right, so I'll take a motion to table.
I motion to table?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
600, we're going to table.
500.
500. Sorry. I keep counting Joe. 500. Okay, we tabled. The next one, please.
On the request for notice of intent for Alexander Jew, 4 Nauset Road, Sagamore, Massachusetts, 02571. Construction of a single-family dwelling, septic system, driveway, utilities, and associated grading. Map 43, Lot 1027, 12 Angel Cove Way, Wareham, Massachusetts. I motion to open the hearing.
Have a
Second.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstains, please, anybody, please identify yourself.
Good evening, Brad Bertola with JC Engineering.
I swear to tell the truth.
I do.
At 12 Angel Cove Way. Okay, please talk to us about this project.
Okay, this property is located at 12 Angel Cove Way. It's currently a vacant parcel owned by Church of the Nazarene. They have it under agreement to sell the property. We have a relatively level site adjacent to the Agawam River. The resource areas on the property include salt marsh and coastal bank, as well as riverfront area. We have those buffer zones depicted on the site plan. The coastal bank and salt marsh are along the southerly portion closest to the river. And the 100-foot buffer zone is approximately halfway through the lot. We are proposing just a minimal amount of work in the buffer zone to both the coastal bank and the salt marsh. There's also some estimated and priority habitat on the property, and that is located southerly of the proposed work limit. So no work is anticipated in any estimated or priority habitat. The area within the limit of work is within the 100-foot and 200-foot riverfront area, and it's also within land subject to coastal storm flowage elevation 14. We are proposing to construct a single-family dwelling. It'll be elevated with a garage under. So the first floor will be garage under, no utilities. It'll be serviced by a septic system situated between the house and the front property line, and we're proposing to connect to utilities within Angel Cove Way, town water and underground electric utilities. We currently do not have a DEP file number yet, so I'd be happy to take any questions, comments tonight, and if there's anything that needs to be addressed, we can address it at the next meeting.
Okay.
That pretty much sums up the proposed work.
Okay, questions, Paula Jean?
Well, I guess it's all about the driveway. I drove down there to the edge of whatever that other road is before it goes into, with the sign there that says Angel Cove, and that's where I left my car, because my car doesn't like going four-wheeling. So is the driveway, are you gonna have a paved driveway, or are you gonna go for seashells, or
Just a type of gravel driveway is anticipated.
just a gravel?
Yeah.
Okay,
We included that in this project because they have the rights over this way and to maintain it, and it is work within the flood zone. It's
Yeah,
not within any
okay.
other, it's not in the riverfront area or a buffer zone to any other resource areas, and pretty much grades will stay exactly the same
Okay.
as it is today.
okay, that's good, because I knew you'd need a long one all the way in. Thank you.
Autumn?
No questions, thank you.
Kwame?
Other than it's a little mushy out there, I guess where you have it staked for the, I believe it's the septic? That's-
SAS, maybe?
Yes, that's, yeah, SAS, that's
I was
what it
right.
means. That's
Septic.
it.
I guessed right.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, no questions, thank you.
Denise?
No questions.
Joe?
No questions for me.
This is a comment. Okay. I hope that the realtor let the potential buyer know they are abutting the sewer plant and everything associated with abutting an open sewer plant.
I think they're aware of that, very much
Okay,
aware.
I just, as a sewer commissioner, we're constantly hearing about, okay, it smells. Well, you're next to the sewer plant, it will have its odors at times. Nothing to do with conservation, I just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure
he's aware.
that they're aware of it. Josh, any comments you have?
Brad, we've seen a few projects from you recently within the riverfront. Can you explain why this one differs and there's no mitigation attached to it? I think that's important for the commission to
Yeah,
understand.
so.
No mitigation?
So the past few projects I've presented, they've been pre-developed sites, house or whatever, and they want to construct an addition. And in the most cases, they're completely within the riverfront area, similar to this project here. So under the Wetlands Protection Act, for lots that predate the River Protection Act, this lot was created in 1951, I believe. 55, signed off by the planning board. The Wetlands Protection Act allows for the development of a house as long as you just provide minimal access around the structure, and as long as you maintain at least 100 feet of naturally vegetated buffer zone. So we are providing, 101 feet. We're working right up to that on the southeast corner, and the river kind of tails away. It's a tidal river, so the start of the riverfront area is based on elevation, and the southwest corner, we're about 159 feet from the river. So it's just a small portion. Tried to minimize the amount of work within the riverfront area and just enough, to clear around the houses and keep the trees away from the house.
Josh, anything
Thank you.
else?
No, it looks like you're gonna require a continuance to your November 6th.
Because we don't have a
hearing.
DEP.
Correct.
Is there anybody online or in the audience would like to comment on this particular project? Yes, please come forward and identify yourself.
Hi, good evening. My name's Andy Cunningham. I'm the water superintendent for the Wareham Fire District, and I had no intention of commenting on this subject. In fact, I had no idea it was even going to be on the agenda. But since I'm here, I figure I ought to just throw it out there. I question how water is going to be tied into the water utility right now because of the status of what is currently there. 8 Angel Cove is a private residence. It owns the 800-plus foot 2-inch PVC water main that goes down Angel Cove all the way from the beginning at, what's the street up above? Rogers Ave?
Rogers, yes.
So that's a private line. It is not mine. I would not fix it if it was broken. To tee off of it would need the authorization of the owner, which is 8 Angel Cove. And
That's,
even if that was acquired, you have the issue of having water metered for the entire 800-foot run for the single-use house. In essence, that's a single-use connection. The meter pit is up at the top of the hill. So teeing off of it below the meter pit would be double metering any water downstream of that tee. So
Yeah.
there's an issue of how a single new residence to the right of 8, which is 12,
I will-
would be properly metered and metered
Yeah.
only
Okay.
for 12.
we had discussed this a while
I will
ago.
let Brad
I've never heard any
respond,
answer.
but
Yeah.
this is totally outside of the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
So if you like to respond, we'll have no discussion
I
on
remember a
it.
conversation with this, and I've relayed this to the
Okay.
the buyer, that there's
Okay.
going to be some work involved in
All right.
regards to that.
But it's,
so-
an
thank
issue.
you for your comments, but there's nothing that involves that for our hearing.
Okay, okay.
no.
It was more for Brad's purpose to
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that
Yep,
it's
so-
coming.
Well, you
No
now
matter
made
what.
it
it
is,
quite
yeah.
public that it's, that issue does exist for that site.
Were you proposing a separate driveway all the way down, or were you going to use the existing?
It's
Angel Cove
Angel Cove
Road.
Ways, yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
okay.
current driveway.
Which is where the utility goes
Yeah.
through.
Yes, it does.
So that's, okay, thank you.
Most of that work is all high. Any work up by the meter pit is all
Is-
out of
Yep,
your
outside of ice,
jurisdiction.
yes.
so-
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
Any other comments? I'll take a motion to continue since we don't have a DEP number. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
500 to continue until November 6th, right? November 6th?
Yes.
Next, please. Thank you.
On the request for notice of intent for Andrew Cunningham, 2550 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Massachusetts. The project consists of the installation of 5 standby generators, liquid propane storage, and associated appurtenances. The district proposes to install generators and propane tanks at its Maple Springs Water Purification Plant and well stations number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 9. These 6 facilities are critical for maintaining drinking water supply within the district's distribution system, though none of the facilities have standby power generators to maintain service during power outages. In the past 3 years, the district experienced extended power outages at these facilities on 2 occasions, one of which lasted several days. By installing standby generators at each of these facilities, the district will be able to provide water more reliably to its customers under emergency circumstances and minimize service downtime. For the remainder of this ad, I'm just going to read the bolded text, and any ads that the public wants to review are available in the paper. Maple Springs, WPP parcel IDs 126-0-1/126-0-C1A. Well stations number 1 and 2, parcel ID 126-0-C1B. Well station number 3, parcel ID 126-0-C1B. Well station number 4, parcel ID 126-0-C1B. And well station number 9, parcel ID 117-0-1005B. I motion to open the hearing.
I have a motion and a second to open the hearing. All in favor? I abstain. Okay, 500. Now, slowly, one at a time, speak your name into the microphone before I swear you in. Slowly.
Working? Andrew Cunningham.
Okay?
Hannah Schenkel.
Ann?
Hannah.
Hannah.
Yep.
And the last name?
Can you spell your last name?
SCHENKEL.
Thank you.
And Alston Potts, that's ALSTON, Alston Brighton 1L.
Okay, thank you. Right hand, please. I swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth regarding the projects of the well stations, Wareham Water Department. Thank you. Good enough? It is Wareham, isn't it? It's not Alston. Okay, thank you. Okay, I did not take my car down those roads, but I know somebody who has. But we'll start talking to us other than you need the generators.
Yes, so as Autumn mentioned, This project is at, the street addresses are 110 and 111 Maple Springs Road and 0 Glen Charlie Road, but they're accessible by an access way to these project sites. So the generators will be installed at the Maple Springs Water Purification Plant. The district is also planning to install a combined generator for well stations number 1 and 2, and then separate generators for well stations number 3, 4, and 9. So the entire generator construction will include gravel laydown areas for the generator areas. And then the generators will sit atop small concrete pads. And we will also be installing 2 propane tanks per each generator set. And the generator areas will be enclosed in a chain link fence, and there will be some electrical and gas upgrades associated with this as well. So the generators for well stations number 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 9, or sorry, not number 9, just well stations 1, 2, 3, and 4 will be located in the 30-foot no activity zone. All of the generators will be located outside the flood zone, and the generator at well station number 9 will be located in a priority habitat. We've included some erosion controls that we plan to install in our project plans, including silt socks, and we are also proposing to install earthen berms at the outer edge of the generator areas along the edge that would be abutting the wetland resource areas. And these will be maintained throughout construction and monitored throughout construction as well. So the project won't involve any permanent or temporary wetland resource area impacts. And all of the areas that we will be impacting with construction outside of the gravel area will be restored in kind with native loam and seed once the project is complete. Do you have any questions at this time?
We will start. Paula Jean.
Come back to me. I might have one after I listen.
Autumn.
Thank you.
Did you entertain the idea of placing things outside of the 30-foot no activity zone? Is there a reason why it had to be in that location?
Yes, for all of the sites, we tried to site the generators as far outside of the activity zone as we could, but specifically with the well stations where it is inside the 30-foot no activity zone, due to space constraints and to avoid doing any clearing, we did have to site them outside the no activity zones. The existing well stations are within chain link fence areas, and the minimal area that the district has outside of the FEMA flood zone is mostly used for vehicle access. So the space constraints were pretty tight for the 4 well stations where it does abut the 30-foot no activity zone.
Thank you.
Kwame.
No questions, thank you.
Denise.
I missed what you were using, silt, tell me again.
We will be using silt socks.
Silt socks.
Yeah, so filter socks.
Okay, thank you.
Joe.
No questions for me.
Okay. Now, 5 of them, right?
Yes.
Again, which one is in habitat?
That would be well station number 9.
9 is with habitat. Now, you tried to put these generators and tanks where you didn't have to do much clearing, is that right? Tree removal, brush removal, and whenever you had to disturb the soil, you will be restoring the area that it's not on a platform with seed and...
Yes.
Now, is there anything that's going to be done to give us a mitigation for the habitat that's going to be disturbed for the endangered? What, turtles or what? What was the
So that area that we're proposing to put the tanks and the generator up at well station number 9 are in existing disturbed areas that were
So it's already cleared?
It's already been cleared to build that station, and now we're kind of retroactively
Okay.
installing this upgrade.
So the land has been cleared because you put in this pump station, and then this is just supplemental activity in order for a generator and propane tanks on all of them, all 5 of them.
Yeah, the generator's proposed to go in the existing fence line for the station, and then the propane tanks will be located just outside, adjacent to existing vehicle access.
Around, with fences around them?
Yes.
So everything you're doing will be fenced, either inside an existing fence or a fence will be built around them?
Correct, and we can maintain either a 6 to 8 inch gap below the fence to allow
How'd you
for-
know I was going to ask for the little critters?
Yes.
You know?
What do
for
you
the-
prefer?
Well, like normally we do 6, don't we, Josh? 6 or 8? Gap underneath the fences.
I thought it was 7.
Usually do 6.
Yeah,
Gap.
usually 6.
Yeah? Would 8 be better for like the taller species that
Well,
happen along?
to me, if they're going to be 6 feet, then we're getting most of the ground. The squirrels and the raccoons and the skunks and the possums are all within 6 inches.
A raccoon?
Yeah,
They're
they'll,
good size.
I know, but they'll
They can
squeeze.
do like a
They'll
flounder.
squeeze.
Through.
Yeah.
I don't
So-
have all the well stations memorized, but 1 and 2 are not accessible via gate, right? There's a gate that prevents people from going to those, if you were to drive up that
You mean on the
far.
road?
I think the entire site is
well-
protected by a vehicle access gate.
The entire site is protected by the Makepeace-owned gate at the Makepeace Canal, at the end of the, what is truly Maple Springs Road, where the paving ends, the bog on your left.
Just
Okay.
before the campground?
The campground, I think you're thinking
Maple.
about,
It's the back entrance to the campground.
yeah, it's a back
Yeah.
entrance, I wouldn't, I wouldn't,
It's
I
where it
wouldn't,
veers off, right?
Yeah.
I would call that Glen Charlie Road.
Well, you
Yeah,
go down
you
Glen
could-
Charlie, and then the campground is on the left, and
Right, and if you go up Maple Springs Road, you can cut through bogs and other area to get to the rear of the campground, but it's not
Okay.
the real entrance.
all right.
So if you go straight up Maple Springs Road and you come to the fork in the road with the canal bridge and the bog immediately on your left, Maple Springs Road is over that bridge and continues up past the water treatment plant and up to the well sites. So there's that large, big, heavy swinging
Yes.
metal gate, the green gate as we call it, that is locked by either us or Makepeace at the end of each day.
So it's not subject to private vehicles from going up? It's controlled?
Beyond the normal working day hours, yes.
Okay. Josh, any comments?
Yeah, I just had one more comment. In the notice of intent, you only mention buffer zone work, but I believe that's Maple Spring Brook that runs behind 2 of the well stations.
That's correct, yeah. So it is, I suppose, also in a riverfront.
Yeah, I'd like to see some updated plans to reflect that.
No problem.
And this is another one where we don't have a DEP file number yet, so you guys should require a continuance.
Is there anybody online or in the audience would like to comment on this project? Then I believe we need a continuance until November 6th for an updated plan to identify the riverfront, and because we have no DEP number.
Okay, so moved.
Second?
I have that motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. See you on the 6th of November. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody here for the tabled 9th, 15th Street project?
Don't see anyone. Normally, I wouldn't mind speaking on behalf of the project, but I feel like this one may lead to
There will be a fine.
fines.
There will be a fine.
So I think it would be more appropriate to have an applicant or representative here for that.
Then I make a motion, we untable the project.
So moved.
Second.
Opposed, abstained, 500 were untabled. Now I would like to have a motion to continue this until November 6th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, 500 were continued. Now, continued hearings. We have 40 Great Neck Road, 40 Great Neck Development. Is there somebody here for that project?
Good evening, members of the commission. Brad Holmes with ECR.
Brian Grady, GAF Engineering.
And both of you were here last time. I've sworn you both in, so you're still covered. Okay. We got some more paperwork in the last meeting. We asked to continue it until we had a chance to read the documents you recently submitted. So, what's changed?
Thank you, members of the commission. Nothing has changed necessarily. We did continue the last meeting, well, this is the second continuance. We presented to you once. But we did continue because we did submit additional information, and there wasn't enough time for you to look at it, and with some attachments and some data to go through. So what we have provided the commission with is some support information to the stream, the intermittent stream, as we're classifying it, 40 and 48R Great Neck Road. What I have done is to provide the commission with an analysis of the history of the stream. We've gone through the old U.S. Geological Survey maps, and we're able to determine that the stream was connected in the late 1920s, early 1930s. So therefore, it's a man-made stream or man-made canal. Canals or man-made watercourses do not carry riverfront per the riverfront regulations. We wanted to get that information to the commission. We also provided the commission with some support data towards the stream. The stream has a very, very small watershed area. It's approximately 1.14 square miles. We included that stream stats data so you could have that. That data is useful to analyze the stream. It's not something that we can give to the commission to show that the stream is intermittent from being mapped perennial to intermittent. It's useful so that you can understand the size of the watershed that supports the stream. If this was an intermittent stream and we were looking for it to be perennial, it would have to be at least a half square mile or larger. So we're using it just to support data so the commission can understand how small it is, the watershed supporting it. Other aspects to it is that since about the end of May, the stream has been dry. It's been continuously dry. It may flow very shortly after rain events. But the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation just issued an update to their drought status on Friday the 11th, and our region is still not and hasn't been in a drought. So we're still within a non-drought status, and that stream has been continuously dry. Brian has provided some additional support data, so I'll turn that over to Brian.
Yeah, I don't know if you all had a chance to review the letter or have any questions regarding it. We just kind of go through the regulations, reiterating Brad's testimony. It's been continuously dry, well in excess of the 4 days that's mentioned in the statute. We're coming up on over 4 months now. So we go through that. I did meet Josh out there. We took a walk, and you'll see on that second page, I provide the 1966 aerial photograph. In that photograph, you can see the area clearly has ditches within it. So it appears to be that small wetland area to the east of Great Neck Road was part of the agricultural wetland system. And when you travel further south along the stream, the ditch, as evidenced by photographs 1 and 2 in that report, photograph 1 shows an old water control structure just south of that wetland, what is now a wetland area. And then just a little further south of that is You can clearly see what is a man-made ditch. It has steep banks, approximately 3 to 4 feet deep. There are no fringe wetlands on either side. So it's clearly a man-made ditch south of that. And I provide some references to the preface to the revisions to the Massachusetts Wetland Regulations, which had some discussion, the Technical Advisory Committee, when they were in the 2001 revision to the wetlands regs. Some of the language from there, it mentions that watershed size and superficial geology are two of the most important characteristics in determining a stream, intermittent or perennial. That goes to Brad's point about stream stats indicating this stream has a 0.14 square mile watershed drainage area, which is quite small. Regulations talk about half square mile and above, and even 1 square mile and above is kind of the cutoff to be perennial. We also provided copy of the, well, I just mentioned some other language that's in the preface where it talks about man-made changes in stream flow, which I believe was one of the first comments at the first hearing by an abutter, that yes, this stream may run intermittent, but it's impacted by the man-made agricultural activities occurring upstream from that. We don't believe that to be the case. There may be some short-term temporary impacts, but not enough to make this stream not flow continuously for a 4-month period. The language in the preface talks about, in the regulations says that those man-made diversions or withdrawals have to be, number one, significant and proximate, and be the cause of it to not flow. So we don't think that the agricultural impacts are significant, and they're certainly not continuous and ongoing for a 4-month period that would preclude any flow in this stream. So we don't think that the agricultural activities are what's causing this stream to be intermittent and not flow perennially. We've also attached an amended superseding order of conditions from a very similar situation up off of Donna Road. There was a subdivision. The commission appealed a determination which went to DEP, and that document discusses there was a DEP on-site as part of that determination. Very similar situation. There was cranberry bogs. There was an upgradient stream going into those cranberry bogs. The cranberry bogs exited through a flume structure to a stream passing through a bordering vegetated wetland. And at the time of that inspection, DEP analyst observed that water was leaking through the weir boards into the stream. The stream was wet for a short distance and then it dried. Josh and I observed the same condition on the day I met him there. The flume or the weir structure on the west side of Great Neck Road, there are boards in, but their water was leaking through the boards into the pipe that goes under Great Neck Road into our stream. It ran for about 50 feet, and then the stream was dry. So, and every time I've visited the site, I have not observed any agricultural operations occurring there. Flooding, irrigation, no activity. So the activities for the agricultural operations to affect this would have to be significant, ongoing, and continuous, and that's just not happening. So this amended superseding order, as I mentioned, is a very similar condition, and I provide photographs of the weir structure with the leaky boards that day. And then you can see the stream bed on the other side. There is some water in there, and then it just dries out. Because I don't know how many of you have walked the stream, but it's very shallow. It's very straight, indicating that it's hand dug. It doesn't appear to intercept the seasonal water table because it is so shallow. So that's why the water entering the stream just disappears, because it infiltrates into the ground. So that's our summary, that's our additional information. Brad and I are fairly confident that this is an intermittent stream, and if we could address any questions.
I would like to start with this amended superseding order of conditions from 2000. It says, remanded the matter back to DEP Southeast Regional Office to determine whether the stream at issue is perennial or intermittent. Whatever happened to that finding from the Southeast Regional Office, DEP?
It was determined to be intermittent.
Was there a document on that? Was it, or did I miss it?
Well, that's the amended superseding order of
I
conditions.
know, it says it would be someone, that this hearing, the amended superseding order would not determine whether or not it's perennial or intermittent. It would go back to the DEP Southeast Regional Office to determine. Do we have anything from them in 2000 that determined what the stream was? It's on the bottom of the first page of the amended superseding order of conditions.
This is the amended superseding order issued in 2000.
Well, that's the purpose of the amended order. The first page, the amended superseding order is the result of an appeal of the original superseding order. The original superseding order concluded project was not grandfathered from work in the riverfront area. The original superseding order did not make any findings as to whether the stream flows through the site is perennial or intermittent. Upon appeal, the original SOC remanded the matter back to make that determination, so it amended the original superseding order with the determination that it was an intermittent stream.
I don't know, I guess all right, I'm going to ask the questions. Paula Jean.
Well, to follow up on that, they're clearly referring to a document that, based upon which they concluded that it was intermittent, and it would be nice to see that document.
Right here. If you look at the page 2 or 3, the department therefore considers this evidence sufficient to overcome the presumption sent forth in 310 CMR 10.582. That's the riverfront regulations.
Right, so this evidence that you just said, that's the evidence we'd like to just be able to see.
Well, that's the amended order that you have.
But that was based upon, wasn't there a document referred to at the bottom of that you said?
There was the superseding order.
Yeah.
The commission felt that Donna Road subdivision had a river running through it, and there was a superseding order issued. This amended order addressed the question of whether or not it was intermittent or perennial. So all the future homes that were built out there did not take into account any riverfront area, and there's one currently under construction at the end of Donna Road where we did not show any riverfront area because of this determination.
Okay, well, I'm just thinking that Sandy referred to us, read what refers to a specific document, and I thought, well, I'd like to see that.
This is just I think Brian had included as just some similar findings. I didn't finish, but in what I was saying before, that they did consider that the stream to have intermittent flow through that amended order.
Who was they?
The Department of Environmental Protection.
But that's not for this property.
Correct. It's just a.
Oh, it's a whole different project.
It's a whole different project.
Yes, correct.
Right, no, I just provide that because it had some language that was, and it mirrors this in that it's very similar. Cranberry bogs, streams, ditches running through it, flumes exiting, going to a stream. This stream went through a bordering vegetated wetland. The stream that we have traverses through upland area, not a BVW. So it's a very similar situation, so that's why I included it.
And the other thing I was going to mention is I happen to live out on Great Neck, and even though we're not officially in a drought at all this last season, I have a neighbor with a pond in front of their house, and it's been lower. All season, it's been lower than it ever is. There's a pond at the property on the other side of me. It's been very, very low all summer. People have commented on it. You know, it's kind of something people chat about. There's a stream that runs from the pond to the ocean, and it's just been less water there all this year. So we may not be designated as in a drought this last season, but it sure looks like it out at that neck of the woods.
Well, if you've seen this Pope's Pond has been flowing through the pipe in response to precipitation events. It has been low, it has fluctuated in response to precipitation events, but we are not in a drought per DCR.
And if we were collecting photographs, last week or September, I would kind of be in the similar mindset of you.
Yeah.
But we got the requisite days in the spring. We had,
I remember the 4 days.
Yes.
Yeah. It just seems as everything out there, it's been a little bit of an unusual year, and we kind of have our own weather out there on that peninsula.
I thought the 4 days were in July.
no, in June. So June 10th, 11th, it's in the, if you look at the RDA application, I just opened it up, it was June 10th, 11th, 14th, 15th, and 18th, so 5 days of dry. That's just what we collected, and it's been dry since. But that was included in the RDA application.
Anything else, Paula Jean?
No, the first time I walked, I've been there a couple of times, the first time I walked down through the whole stream, I thought, gee, this doesn't look like they've allowed the water to come through, because it's still very bare, as if water flushes through there frequently. It's not like vegetation has said, hey, it's not a stream anymore, let's grow there. It just looks as if the water's been shut off, but it looks very much like a stream, ready to run.
It's definitely a stream.
Yeah.
It does have a inland bank on either side. It's a
Yeah.
resource area. So there's a 100-foot buffer that extends landward of the bank, and it's a stream. Our application is only to
It not be a
request
river
that
200
it's not a
feet.
perennial stream, always
Right.
flowing.
Aware of that, yeah.
And I think what you're referring to, I think it was mentioned maybe at the first meeting, there was no vegetation implies velocity, implies stream.
Right.
But those two catch basins at the road are directly over the pipe. They broke the pipe, put the catch basins directly over them, so there'll be a lot of water going in there during a precipitation event. That provides you your velocity. And probably after they have the flood water released from the cranberry bog, there'd be a lot of water released from the cranberries. So that will provide the velocity where you see the sand bottom and the vegetation isn't growing. So I kind of go back to my point. To me, it doesn't look like a stream because it's very shallow. There's no fringe wetlands. If that stream had been a stream naturally, it would meander through. It'd be subject to the seasonal intermittent. It would intercept the water table. The watershed would be larger. It would meander following the micro contours, and the fringe vegetation would be established because water would be in it 12 months out of the year. The reason there's no fringe wetland is it's apparently dry for a significant portion of the year, and it cannot support that wetland vegetation.
No, I know that's what you're saying. And that would reduce the buffer to 100 feet if we do that. And then, obviously, all of this is only because there's going to be construction in there. That would be the next step, even though I think you said that there were no plans at this point. Is that correct?
Well, first thing we need to do is
Right, first
determine the
things
resource
first.
areas and the
But
what's...
then if it turns out it is a perennial stream, after all, how do we turn back the clock?
Okay. All right. Autumn? Paula Jean, were you done?
Yes, thank you.
Autumn?
Do you know how large the watershed size is for this area?
Yes, it's 0.14. If it's in that additional information submittal, the stream stat map is in there.
Do you know where this does become officially identified as a perennial stream? Or is it just on this whole property, that is the
Well,
debate?
it's identified on the U.S. Geological Survey's current mapping as a dark blue line, so therefore it's, you have to run the, well, you have to do your studies of dry periods. You'd have to keep moving that stream stats program till you get to at least .5, and I haven't moved it to the east to that degree.
Okay, thank you.
Kwame?
So I guess this is like a stupid question.
Never.
No question is stupid.
So the boards that are in right now, if those are out, you're telling me there'll be a constant stream?
They're
It
saying
won't
that
reach?
be.
Or will it reach or will it not reach?
They're saying it won't.
It won't.
It would in a high water event, but the pond is down, as this groundwater is down, so the water isn't reaching, on the pond side, it's not reaching the point where the boards are, it's still further down.
But there was some kind of indication that there was some water or a pathway shooting across.
At certain times, water, the agricultural operator puts boards in that flume, and he removes boards as the agricultural operations require. He puts the boards in to back up water when he needs water, certain times a year for irrigation, or he's getting ready to do a flood, he'll need excess water. And sometimes he'll pull the flumes out when he doesn't need the excess water. That goes to, part of the language in here, but for. But for that agricultural operation, would this stream flow continuously? And my opinion is no. Because I've been out there on numerous occasions. I've seen the boards in, I've seen partial boards in, I've seen all the boards in. The day Josh and I were there, the boards were in, but the water's leaking through the boards. They're not holding the water back entirely. The water's leaking through it. If it was a stream, think of it as a fire hose. There's water coming all the time. And put those boards in, the water's eventually going to reach up and go over if that flow were continual and ongoing. That doesn't happen.
Okay.
Denise, your questions?
Okay, but the water isn't flowing all the time because of how the water is being used by the bogs, correct?
The water is not being used continuously, ongoing, all the time.
All right. I'm trying to understand, if it's perennial, you're subject to the 200-foot waterfront regulations and the Wareham wetland bylaws, correct, with the buffer zones?
Correct.
If it's intermittent, it's a 100-foot buffer, and you have to deal with the 30-foot no-activity zone.
Correct.
Correct. If I'm looking at the information both from Linda Rinta and the fact that the Mass GIS map designates it as perennial, the perennial is a 200-foot, okay. Based on 10.53 of the Wareham Protection Act and Section D, the test that you conducted for the 4 days dry consecutively within a 12-month period has to be within a non-drought period, correct? Low pond is due to a draw by the cranberry bogs and the season. If I'm looking at Linda's letter, she states that the water draw permit, there's a permit on it for 60 AC feet of water per year. The flood water applied to the bogs is returned to the pond, Pope's Pond, for reuse, tailwater recovery, typically in the winter and the fall harvest. So hearing that, it's telling me that the flow is going to return come winter and fall. And then looking at the flume section, she's talking that the purpose of the flume is to hold the pond for its intended use and allow release of excess storm water through the small canal. And that obviously, she states that there's periods of time during a normal growing season when there's no outflow from the pond and the small drain canal is dry. So the low pond then is due to the draw by the cranberry bogs and the season, and there is a wooden flume structure which is there to regulate that flow. So seasonal circumstances hold that there would be water flowing, or there wouldn't be a need for the wooden flume, and the 4 days dry is a result of a man-made intervention in the time of year measured. And I believe that Mr. Faherty has also recommended that it stays classified as perennial. And based on all that I'm seeing here, and that the Mass GIS map states that it's perennial, I think that it should stay listed as perennial, and therefore is subject to the 100-foot riverfront regulations and the Wareham wetland bylaws buffer zone.
200 foot.
200, I'm sorry, thank you. Bylaws and the buffer zone. Looking at the information that I have here, and additionally looking at the material that you provided from ECR. The stream is mapped as a dark green line, which designates perennial stream. But those are my conclusions, looking at the material that you've given me.
Well, we disagree with those conclusions,
Yeah,
but
obviously.
certainly.
Joe, any questions?
There's none for me.
Part of your statement is because this is man-made, correct? And because it's man-made, it's not subject to the same determination of perennial and intermittent because it was used for agriculture. Is that correct? Man did this, not nature.
Correct.
Okay. Josh, do you have any other comments before I ask for public input?
No, I think all my comments have been addressed.
Okay. Anybody in the public would like to come forward, identify themselves, and comment on this project, please?
There you go.
Be sandwiched here, or could I grab it and?
You can have the whole table to yourself.
Not necessary, but thank you. I'm Scott Parr.
Into the microphone, please.
I'm Scott Parr.
Thank you.
I'm trustee of the 39 Great Neck Road Realty Trust, which is in a butter.
And your comments, please.
Pardon me?
Any new comments you'd like to make that you haven't already addressed us in a previous meeting? Please have a seat.
I was actually going to distribute some papers if I may. Have another?
Thank you.
Sure. Good. Trap on my own shield.
Just be careful of the cords.
Okay.
Leave these,
Yep.
perhaps you could
And I will,
distribute them in those
yep.
directions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And please make sure that it's down to Josh. Okay, we have your paperwork.
We have a lot of information in front of us. I think it's useful to begin with what can be simply stated as what I think is the key. The USGS defines this stream as a perennial stream. That's different from an applicant that may come on a piece of territory and see it as a whiteboard and be able to write whatever new may be appropriate on it. Here, we really have a burden to overcome the conclusion of the USGS that it's a perennial stream. And I submit to you that that's a higher burden than simple opinion in many cases. Applicant has made several points, many of them since the first opportunity I had to speak to the commission. The applicant submitted field observations, which are one of the key and clear ways that the presumption that a stream is perennial can be overturned. And I submit to you those were flawed. They did not take into consideration upstream effects that were man-made. And while we have been speaking of active interventions, pumping, irrigating, I would also draw your attention to the fact that there must be no impoundments of water upstream to change the flow of the water. I mean, in some ways, when we look at these cranberry bogs and the system that includes Pope's Pond, I think it's a little bit like an electrical system. If you think of Pope's Pond as the battery, it stores the water and then it discharges the water, and it is not permitting the normal flow of the water. At whatever time of year, there may not be active pumping, but there's still an impoundment of the water in Pope's Pond for use when and if it becomes necessary. I'd also submit to you that this is a significant distinction between the situation at 40 Great Neck Road and the case that was cited in Wareham, the superseding decision. And it's a pretty simple difference. The decision that's being presented was up gradient. It was feeding into Pope's Pond, and this is down gradient. It's coming out of the pond. So to the extent that impoundment is part of the reason that the stream isn't running, it couldn't apply to an up gradient water feature, but it could certainly apply to the stream we're talking about here. I think one thing that's interesting is this theme that Pope's Pond, the cranberry bogs, the stream are man-made. And this is a pervasive theme. It's provided in the letter from Mrs. Rinta. It's provided in the August 28th letter from GAF. And it's provided in the more recent letter from Environmental Consulting. They all either speak of this as an irrigation pond or a man-made part of the cranberry bog creation process. And there are a number of dates that are circulated. I mean, we hear from Linda Rinta that this is, if I'm correct, it's sometime in the 50s. 1950 to 1963. We then see maps that are submitted that show pond and stream in 1934 to 35. And then we're presented a map and an argument that there's no pond in a 1921 topographic map because it must have been created after that. So I've actually provided a couple of maps, and maybe we can walk through them very quickly. These are primarily from the applicant. So first map, 1934-35 site locus map, clearly shows Pope's Pond and the stream. It's circled, you can see both. Absolutely consistent with the USGS surveys and other materials provided. The second map, which is 1921, is used to argue that there was no...
I don't want to go back to the 34. Under the letter RG, is that the... great. RG is what is Pope's Pond on this map, right?
Correct. Yes,
That-
correct.
Okay, I'm just trying to
Sorry.
identify the pond. It's under those letters. Okay, thank you.
And you see that in a couple of these where there are letters over the stream, or they're actually created, I think, in Ms. Rinta's letter, the suggestion that the stream sprung up whole cloth away from the pond. But I think that was kind of map labeling. So the second is a 1921 USGS site locus map, which would appear to show that there is no Pope's Pond. And I think is a basis of applicant's argument that this is man-made, and therefore these regulations do not apply. And of course, if it's not there in 1921, then if it's there in 1934, 35, somebody made it in between, right? So, but the problem is, when you look at the distance between the kind of identifiable landmarks in this 1921 map and what's shown as the locus, you can see that the distance between the railroad track at Onset Avenue and Pope's Pond is just about a half mile. To the extent that Google Maps is going to give us a decent argument, I think that it's reasonable here. And when you apply that to the map that's presented for 1921, the pond is off the map. And I went back to the original site, I went back to the website, and in fact, it doesn't show the entirety of the area as Great Neck Road goes south. So, and if you compare these features to the features in the 35 map and to the earlier USGS maps, it would appear that we're looking at an area north of Penny Lane, just trying to fit the shape of the roads to what we know of the area. So let's have some fun. Let's go back to 1879 and an historical atlas of Plymouth County that is in the records of University of Massachusetts. And I've shown one page, which is a little bit too big scale, just to show what the map looks like. Town of Wareham, Town of Marion, 1879. And then on the following page, blown up, is Pope's Pond. Just south of Captain B.F. Gibbs' house, which is the house that my daughter and grandson live in, and exactly where it has been since well before the turn of the century. This is not a man-made irrigation feature. And if it's critical to the applicant's argument that there be a way to exempt this from the rules, the notion that it's man-made fails. In a way, it's kind of simple. The burden is on the applicant to prove that the USGS was wrong, flat out wrong, multiple times wrong. And I don't think they've sustained that burden. The original tests, the observations were flawed in that they did not take into account the man-made features north and west of the stream. Subsequent observations about whether it's meaningful or but for don't take into account the impoundment effect, the battery effect of Pope's Pond, the notion that watershed size is going to contribute to a definition of whether a stream is perennial or not is simply false. And it's false in a way that is illustrated in the materials that applicant has submitted. The introduction to the changes in the environmental laws starts off in one of the key segments by saying if it's identified by the USGS as a perennial stream, it's a perennial stream. I'm paraphrasing. But there's a hard period there. And then it goes on to say if it's identified as an intermittent stream, that's a rebuttable presumption based on watershed area. So I guess from a perspective of regulatory, I just don't think that the burden has been carried here. On a personal basis, I guess I'm somewhat disappointed. I've got a 6-year-old grandson who lives across the road, And there's nothing we would like better than for him to have other families moving in across the road near him so that there are more young people to play with and to just get to know. But what's of concern, there's so much effort to try to avoid the oversight of this commission, the stewardship of this commission in a 100-foot additional area, which is essentially a we got out of jail free card. I don't know why that's so critical. I mean, if it's not problematic from a variety of perspectives, if the applicant comes in and looks for a variance or looks for the ability to do something within the buffer zone, we'd support it. But here we basically have the opportunity taken to remove ourselves from the purview and the stewardship of the commission, and I just don't think that burden has been carried.
Okay, thank you. I do have to admit, looking at this 1879 map, I do see Pope's Pond just at that 90-degree bend in Great Neck.
Yep.
Everybody see it there?
Yes.
It's tough to see it in the blown-up one, but I can see it, now that I got my glasses on, is right there at that 90-degree corner.
I do have one
And it does
more.
say Pope's Pond.
Yep.
I need to start bringing my magnifying glass.
If it's of any help.
Yeah, it's blown up on the next
Would I
page.
be able to provide some response?
Let him finish, and yes.
This comes from the Gibbs House, 1903. Well, forgive me, I can't reproduce it. But again, you'll see Pope's Pond at the bend in the road in Great Neck. I'm not sure how best to go with this, or if it's necessary.
Just, okay, that it's,
Here,
yep,
Pope's Pond.
1903.
See the
There it is.
date and the timing in the back. I have to put this back on my daughter's wall afterwards.
Okay, you want to share it with the rest? I can see.
Thank you.
Right over here.
This is Great Neck
There's
right here.
Shell Point.
Scott, is there anything else?
One right there.
Okay,
Thank you.
so,
I thought it was back in here.
Brian, you wanted to,
What I
Brad?
just wanted to quickly
Pope's
say is
Pond,
that,
here it is.
wait a second. Are you done?
Yes.
sure, what we're looking for not necessarily is the pond as much as the stream. So the stream on the site was, does that show on the map? Or just a pop, or just,
In 1935, and in this map, and
They want to have a seat.
Thank you.
they don't go to that scale, and they do not, there are letters over the area where you would see the intersection of the stream and the pond.
so just quickly on the pond, that's great information that Mr. Parr provided on the pond. When you are out at the site and you're at the pond and you're looking from Great Neck Road towards the pond, you can clearly see that the stream or channel was dug, hand dug, from the pond to the street, and then there's a pipe that goes under the street to our site. You can see that because there's high bank sides where the flume is. The information of the history that this was a man-made stream, in our opinion, that was just additional information to support the package or the application. What we're here for is really, it goes down to the riverfront regulations themselves. When you have a mapped perennial stream, as Mr. Parr said, from the USGS map, there's only one way to overturn that status of perennial, and that's to document it 4 days during a 12-month period. It says the issuing authority shall not may, but shall find that any stream is intermittent based on documented field evidence, blah, blah, blah. The position of, well, there's upstream obstructions or withdrawals, in my opinion, that stream has been dry from May on, and it's not it's not the fact that it's being sucked out of the pond and there's therefore no water's getting to the stream. It's that the groundwater, that pond is fed by groundwater. If you go to other places, yes, the ponds are lower, streams are lower. It's a function of rising and falling groundwater. When that groundwater falls, the pond falls, and the pond can't get to the outlet to flow onto our site. So all the additional information we've submitted to you is additional to help the commission, but it all comes down to the statute. The issuing authority shall find that it's intermittent based on the documented evidence, and that's all I wanted to.
Now, for consideration, we are determining whether or not it's an intermittent or a perennial stream. Whether or not it's what it might mean in the project should not be considered.
Correct.
We don't consider whether or not there's an impact on 100 versus 200 feet. We're here to say whether or not we determine this particular stream as presented for USGS tells us whether or not it's a perennial or intermittent.
I
think
that that's not entirely correct to the extent that it is already mapped as perennial.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So we would
I'm just
change
saying
it from perennial to intermittent, but it's listed as perennial.
that I don't think we have the authority to change it from one to the other. I think we're here to look at the data that's been presented by everybody, including USGS, as to how the stream is identified. What impact it might have for the development, whatever, is not
Correct.
to be considered here. Josh, your comments?
No, I would
I
agree
see
with.
your hand raised.
I would agree with that. You're not presuming what may happen on or off this site and how
We can't
your
consider
decision
that
is
at
going
all.
to affect that. You're determining with the evidence that has been presented to you whether the stream is perennial or intermittent.
Is there anybody online or anybody else who'd like to comment on this project? Do we feel comfortable in closing the hearing and making determination?
I do.
Josh? All right? I mean, anything else to add?
Could I note on that section where it states field observations made after December 20th, 2002 shall be documented by field notes and by dated photographs or video? So do we consider that application to be suitable for field notes? Or should those be submitted with the dated photos?
I'm not sure of the question.
Are you looking for actual field notes? I'm not sure what information you would be looking for within a field note.
Right, and I'm not sure how that's defined by
Photograph pages.
the regulations.
Yeah, the photos are dated in the.
Yep, yep. And it says, shall be documented by field notes and by dated photographs or video. So,
I don't know what information you would be looking for in terms of field notes.
no, me neither. It doesn't,
I think the photographs probably meet that
suitable.
requirement.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know what would be in a field note that would help you make a
Right,
determination
Right,
outside of what the photograph would present.
okay. Thank you.
Now, how long have we been having this hearing? Since August 7th? How many times have we taken testimony?
Twice.
Okay. Has everybody been here for every one of those hearings in which we've had testimony?
Yeah.
All right. So if there's nothing else to be said, would someone like to take a motion to close the hearing?
I move to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion to close the hearing in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. The hearing is closed. Will someone like to take a motion?
That's a lot of information.
I would move to not change the designation of this stream or water or river or whatever you want to call it, from perennial to intermittent.
So well, I'm going to ask you to be, can you just clarify that you're here to confirm that this stream is a perennial stream as determined by USGS?
And by the Mass GIS mapping,
Okay,
by both.
Second.
is that clear?
Yeah, I think the actual determination you would want to make based off of that would be a positive 2B.
A what?
Positive Number 2, letter B.
2B.
And what does that mean?
The boundaries of the wetland resource areas and buffer zones listed below are not confirmed by this determination, regardless of whether such boundaries are contained on the plans attached to the determination or the request for determination.
Okay, so you
So
want to
moved.
try,
We'll just say it's so moved.
so moved?
Second.
I have a second?
Yeah, hold on one second. Yeah.
We checked the box on the form for the area.
We have to be very precise in our motion.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah, I'm aware of that, but,
Yeah, it may not fit so well into that checkbox.
yeah.
If it doesn't fit clearly, you can add some language, I guess, Clara.
Yeah, Brad, I understand what you're trying to get at. My only concern is that the other positive determinations probably fit less
Yeah,
than
it may be.
2B. And 2B really gives me an opportunity to define why the commission came to this determination.
All right, so the motion is that we determine this project to be a positive 2B?
2B, and it remains perennial as,
I don't, do we continue
say
beyond
that?
that?
Oh, yeah, right?
Yeah,
As it-
you would,
as it
you would
sta-
want to define what you're finding.
That we determine the stream to be
remains
perennial.
perennial as per the Mass GIS and the USGS,
USGS,
mappings.
yes.
and therefore is subject to the 200-foot.
No, 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 no.
I
No,
don't do
beyond
that?
Nope,
that.
just the
Just
perennial,
that?
no more.
Okay.
We're not going to determine
All right,
whether or not the
perennial.
impact on building. We're just going to determine that there's a positive 2B and that we determine the stream to be perennial based
perennial.
on the two pieces of
Some information
information
we have.
that you mentioned.
So moved.
That be the motion?
Yes,
I need a second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500 for a positive 2B.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take a picture of that before I go?
Of course.
Oh, that gave me a headache.
That was a lot.
That was, yeah, there's a lot of information,
Okay, perfect.
and,
That will help them figure out what they need to do next.
Beyond that. Yeah, okay.
But I can't,
this will be continued. Okay, the next one is Mueller, 4 Candia Street and 8 Candia Street. Okay,
wow. You stayed all this time?
He
You
had
really
no
like
choice.
this, huh?
he wants this done.
Just want to make sure.
This
Okay,
is the 4 Kennedy Street.
and 8. So
So
we'll start with 4.
Start with 4.
before we get into this, I just want you to be aware, I just submitted revised plans today, and I want to give it up to the decision of the commission if they feel comfortable to move forward and review those plans, since they've seen 2 plans already and may have been to the site twice, or if you
Do you have
wanna-
copies of the plans?
Yes, I do have copies.
All right, if I can,
Or if you want to discuss it and continue it, to think about it, or if you guys,
Well,
I'm
it's,
just leaving it up to you, because the
Well, we know what
plan
we-
was just submitted.
we've said that we want stuff ahead of time.
I-
Yes.
but we also stated that there were certain things that we were looking for in a plan.
But things were revised. Right.
Yeah, so I don't know, do you feel comfortable just looking at
Well,
them?
let's look at this, see, I mean, we talked about the fence, we talked about the patio, we talked about, I lost my notes.
Do you have Tylenol, possibly?
can share it. Oh, I have, it was submitted and it was uploaded,
Yeah,
The
it
one
was
that
this
submitted
afternoon.
today.
There was one
I should
today.
have it. Okay, okay, thank you.
I think Brad's begging for the mercy of the
Thank you very
board to
much.
hear it tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, we know what we're looking for.
I
Based
think I
on-
see what he's talking about. Yep.
So I've discussed with the property owner about this third iteration of the plan and come up with an option to see if it's doable or not, to try to close this out and kind of get something for the property owner, while getting something for the commission. So,
Talk to us about,
so I'll go through the changes. Again, for the record, Brad Bertolo with JC Engineering. The first aspect is the patio area. I believe that the last hearing, we had some real estate pictures that were available that showed that there was some type of access underneath the deck. So we are proposing to limit the patio to under the deck and try to utilize some of the existing walls that were constructed to stay in place, as opposed to trying to take them out and reconstructing them elsewhere. Right now, we have a set of steps that comes down the east side of the dwelling, just south of the deck, about 4 or 5 steps that lands down to what we're proposing is the kind of I think it's about 3.5 feet wide, access to get underneath the deck. Originally, I believe the area, there was some area in this location disturbed for access down into the lower level underneath the deck to get to that door out of the basement. So we're looking to see if we can keep the stairway as opposed to sliding it, I think probably 8 feet to the west, roughly where it was. That would limit the patio. It doesn't go any closer to the salt marsh than the current deck that's above. We're tying into the retaining wall that's below the deck, that kind of rectangular area that's kind of highlighted in orange under the deck, and then connecting back into the currently constructed wall on the west side of this patio. Again, it's under the deck, but kind of comes out, extends just southerly of the existing deck. That would, the original plan had the patio obviously a lot further out, and then we brought it back to being just outside of the original coastal bank area depicted in the purple line there. What will take place on this location, or as this is laid out, the area basically from the rectangular existing wall that's just directly under the center of that, the portion of the deck that points southerly, and the 2 little walls, retaining walls on either side, which will be about 3 feet high. All that land area to the south would be restored back to what was there before any site work was done, which was just a loam and seed. To account for some of the runoff that would be subjected to this patio area, there is a deck above it where water will probably infiltrate through the boards, and the small section of the access from the stairway will be captured in a little yard drain catch basin, and we'll pipe it to a structure which will be buried, and everything will be, everything in regards to the leaching will be buried and below grade and grassed over as it was before any site work had taken place. We eliminated any of the path, I guess walkway or flagstone or stepping stone walkway on the west side of the house. We are continuing to propose that the area from the garage down the west side of the garage ties into the existing deck stairway. And in that area, it's kind of an awkward steps that kind of lead off the side, so we're proposing to kind of reconstruct that That's right roughly in the area where there's currently timbers that tie into the existing deck. The only portion in that area within the 30-foot of that coastal bank is the two little steps that kind of come off of it. So we've eliminated all that work outside the 30-foot from the coastal bank. The property owner is also intending to do some plantings along the elevated deck that runs around. There's maybe 3 to 4 feet of lattice work, kind of blocking the view underneath the deck. And so he wants to put some edging and some plantings. I didn't call out for any plantings. It'd be probably your typical like hydrangeas or foundation plantings for a house. Because it's work within the buffer zone of resource area, I want to make sure that it was on this plan. We've also maintained the walkways on the east side that kind of connects between the driveway and the carport and the side deck. Kind of similar to what was out there, I guess, similar construction as it was over on number 8. It's a pathway. We are still asking for allowing that path or walkway to connect to the deck. And that is adjacent to the house and, most southerly, maybe 6 to 8 feet, 5 to 8 feet, would be within the 30-foot of that coastal bank buffer. But again, we're in an area that's it's probably grass, it's probably walked on already. Not really a huge significant increase in surface water runoff or impacts to the coastal bank. It's pretty much all grass all around the whole site, and the whole coastal bank is grass. Everything to the north side of the property, we're still proposing the carport, the roof dry wells to connect to the carport. We're proposing dry walls for all the roof gutters that exist today on the whole house. And we're still proposing the subsurface drainage to address the runoff that's coming off of the driveway. Prior to any work that took place under the enforcement order, I believe the paved driveway and a chain link fence were installed by this, or put in by this property owner within the last, couple years, few years that he's owned this property. And then he started doing all the site work that obviously was issued an enforcement order.
Caught our attention.
Caught your attention. So he had put the fence in, which was chain link fence. The portions that are remaining are still standing. It wraps down the east side across the water where it is today, and then he removed it when he was building this work. So it ran up the property line and tied into the fence line up by the garage. It was an area so he could, let his dogs out and run, and obviously he's got some kids. So we are proposing to maintain that fence because it's chain link fence. We are proposing to put it back to the way it was. Kind of goes down the property line. It's not going to have really any impact to the coastal resource areas or the coastal banks because it is all grass. And again, wouldn't provide any impacts to the salt marsh because it's kind of delineating the grassed area. To mitigate for the proposed work, we did shrink down considerably the amount of hardscaping that was proposed. So we looked at basically the pre and post under the Wetlands Protection Act. Some areas are degraded, some areas are not. The walkway down beside the garage, degraded area. It's all crushed stone right now. It's void of natural vegetation, no topsoil. So it's pretty much a wash in regards to reviewing work in the riverfront area. Remaining areas, I believe on the other side, there's some crushed stone up by the driveway in between the carport and the house. But the remaining areas are pretty much probably grassed area, or the area in the carport was a staging area it was dirt when we got involved with that. My just assumptions, it was probably some type of grass area, so taking into account in that area and the area kind of exceeding the footprint of the deck, and even underneath the deck, we were able to, we still provide the minimum, or more than the minimum, at least one-to-one mitigation area, and we have the 1,100 square feet of mitigation to account for the work on number 4. We took it off number 8, because I didn't want any of the mitigation area on number 4 to be tied together with any work on 8. We can discuss 8 after, and I think that project is pretty straightforward. But we're just trying to come up with an option that, hey, that I believe that the mitigation that we proposing is going to eliminate a lot of grass area and add in a lot of native plantings and, you know, put some conservation, I think I had called for a conservation wildlife seed mix. So it'll provide nice ground cover, probably provide some pollinated species, and then you'll have the woody shrubbery that will both act in slowing surface water runoff, floodwaters. It will provide a filter to surface water runoff that comes off the grass yard. Now, a nice, good natural buffer or barrier, not natural, but a nice barrier to kind of distinguish between usable yard space and non-usable mitigation area was that fence. So it was a nice barrier to, you know, kind of, if you're driving by, you can look and say, hey, is there grass on the other side of that fence? Because that fence is, they're no touch. Don't go beyond that. He has his normal grass, normal mowing activities, but he provides the yard space for the kids and the dogs, and I don't think that there would be really any impact to either resource area by allowing the work as shown. And I think overall, you know, if you take the site before any site work is done, we have, minus the driveway, we have a house that had surface water runoff coming off of it, directly discharging into downspouts that was going on a grass yard. And it's got a slope to it. It's not a flat grass yard. There was definitely some slope, so there becomes some velocity. And that grass extended right to the salt marsh. So I think on this plan, we're capturing that surface water runoff, and we're eliminating a lot of grass and adding plantings. So I think there's an overall benefit, even though we're adding some proposed walkways and a patio. I think this will be a benefit to the resource areas.
Brad, just to clarify, the fence is the orange X's.
Orange line with an X, yes.
So there's a gate going into the 4-foot walkway to the river, and there's a gate up by the...
It probably has 2 gates. There's one gate that's right off of the garage right now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's probably a gate on the other, there's definitely a gate on the other side.
Yeah, he
get
wants
the
to keep his
carport.
dog in.
Yeah,
There is a gate going down to the river to keep the dog.
yes.
There's a third gate, okay.
Yep.
So the X's and lines are the fence. Okay.
Correct, yes.
All right, I'm going to ask the questions. Paula Jean.
So the chain link fence will not be it'll be toward the house side of the 30-foot zone, correct?
No,
It'll be
the
moved-
30-foot zone goes through the
All the
middle
way
of the
down.
house.
Oh, yeah,
It's all the way down.
okay. The chain link fence bothers me. I'm thinking things like, you know, certainly they won't have to worry about geese coming in their yard, but geese like to be able to come to the shore and have access, so that's my wildlife piece.
And definitely, yeah,
Well,
they'll
they'll have
definitely
access
space.
to the mitigation area.
Yeah,
Okay.
So that's all access
Good.
mitigation from the water.
Okay, I don't think I have any other questions.
Autumn,
No questions, thank you.
Kwame,
No questions, thanks.
Denise.
I feel very strongly that, yes, you need to keep your dogs and your kids confined, and I really don't have a problem with the fence. I just want to know, do we have, this doesn't have to be required, like other fences to be off of the ground? This can go down to the ground?
Well, it's going to have to, if the idea is confining the dog.
The dog?
Yes.
Okay.
So what that would do would keep other critters
Out.
off of the property.
Okay, other than rabbits. I mean, they can get through anything.
Yeah.
And the birds can fly over the top.
Yeah, most of the small critters, we won't have any issues with getting in there, so.
Okay.
But the
now-
idea is that the idea of trying, I'm sure the chain link fence will be down to the ground, if not under
Okay.
the ground, to keep the dog from
But
digging.
our bylaws don't require that it,
No.
okay. My other question was, we had asked if he would consider doing something other than a block walkway that comes into the 30-foot no-activity zone, if he would do,
So,
or
we
no.
talked about that, and the only section that's really is the last like 5 to 8 feet on the east side of the structure.
Correct.
It just didn't make sense to have a block walkway and then stop, and then you get to the step. It just,
Well-
logistically, just doesn't make sense.
So is this block on the other side also? Because I see cobbles written there, on the other side of the existing garage.
Right now, it has timber cobbles.
It says timber and cobbles.
There's a,
I'm on,
right adjacent to the garage wall.
Yeah.
That whole 6-foot strip roughly that goes between the garage and the row of cobbles/timbers, those are existing. That's all crushed stone right now. So we're proposing to swap that with patio pavers. All of that work, right up to the stairway, is outside of 30 feet as well.
correct. But I guess my question is, why can't you do something on the other side of the house so that you're not putting block in the 30-foot, even if it is only a 5 or 6-foot area?
Well, it just makes more sense to have something just be a weird transition.
Well, I'm saying just make the whole thing not a block walkway, make it something else that is acceptable in the other area.
Oh, we're
I know.
proposing the walkway.
It's
so-
still within the no-activity zone, you're putting a block, or part of a block walkway. I have no problem with the patio underneath the deck, because that was already a disturbed area. I have no problem with the wall, because that was already there. It was already existing, and he just replaced it. I know with other plans that we've looked at, when it does enter into the no-activity zone, a walkway or a driveway, we usually ask that it be made into something a little more pervious than a block walkway. And he just,
So I'll be walking down, as I get older, I'll be walking down a block walkway, then 6 feet before the steps to the deck.
well, I'm
I'll be-
saying that if you're gonna do the 6 feet, it should all be something that, like,
I was thinking a little bit stability being the block. That was just, as I get older, I'm looking for that.
but could
type
it be something that has, it could be like something that has holes in it, you know, like the blocks, they're not solid blocks,
Like
everything.
pervious pavers.
Some
right?
type of paver that has like the holes.
Yeah.
In it,
Rain goes through it,
something-
like this stuff, that,
Right, something like that versus just
Yeah,
a
that's
block.
the reason why we have the mitigation to offset that. That's adding the plantings, adding the drainage. So we're capturing all the roof runoff that's on the gutters that now just kind of discharge on the ground. We'll put them underground. So if you think about it, you could look at the footprint of the dwelling as all impervious, because that's the case. Compare that with the amount of proposed patio that is proposed. Not the stuff under the deck, because that's getting
Correct, that
directly
has nothing to
infiltrated.
do with it.
That's getting captured and infiltrated. That's a
But
s-
it's
that's
already was a
sunken-
disturbed area, and he's
It
got
is,
no
yeah.
problem with that.
So, if you look at the.
So
the
you're
roof-
saying that you're offsetting what you want to do with the mitigated area?
Yeah, so sometimes it's easy, if you're gonna add 1,000 square feet of driveway,
Yeah,
sometimes it's easier, let's just capture the 1,000 square feet of roof that's easily captured by gutters and can be piped, versus trying to come up with some type of drainage,
and I
trench
guess
drain.
my question then would be to Josh, with the bylaws the way they are now, and the no activity zone the way it is defined now, can we take mitigated area and swap it? Do you know what I mean? By by law, are we allowed to do that? Because I believe is the way the bylaw states now, we don't have any condition for that. We don't, that type of mitigation doesn't exist within our bylaws today. If we would
Bargain
want.
away the 30, within the 30-foot zone.
Correct.
Right.
If we wanted to move forward and change that in the future, then yes, I would have no problem with swapping. But as our bylaw is written now,
But that-
legally, can we do that?
Again, it's in we're looking at a pre-developed site. If this was a wooded site, kind of like Angel Cove I presented,
I
it's a
know.
natural vegetative buffer. How is
I'm
this
just,
like?
I'm just
like-
saying that within our laws now,
Yeah.
are we able to do that legally?
Yeah. It's pretty much no different than the generators tonight. It's in an altered area in the 30-foot. We're in a grassed area. There's nothing native there other than grass. And I don't think that swapping grass with
Yep.
some type of block on that is going to harm the coastal bank within the 30 feet of. And if you look at the site as a whole, you look at, all right, I'm going to go back to everything that was there today, and we're going to have all this runoff and we'll have all this grass, versus I'm going to capture all that runoff. And
No,
I'm
I
gonna-
see, I know what you're trying to do, and I think it's a very good idea. It's just that I don't know if we can do that the way our bylaw is written today.
Legally.
And
We have some flexibility.
do we or don't we?
I mean, you guys can do whatever you want. Ultimately, it's your bylaw. You
Correct.
created it.
Right, and we've been
You're the issuing
stating
authority.
that no activity is no activity.
And that's because there's never been any mitigation. On the projects we've told them to undo, there was never
No,
any
any-
land to give us an option to trade off.
I'm thinking, would that open us up to, in the future, I don't know if this is too far-fetched, that if someone comes to us and wants to do something in the 30-foot zone, and we say, no, it's a no-touch area, and they go, okay, well, let us do some damage in the 30-foot zone, and we're gonna mitigate it with doing all this other good stuff up here, and we say, no, we don't do that, and they're gonna say, well, here's this set of
Correct.
precedent.
It's a
And then
case by
we're,
case
you know,
Yeah,
basis, and
it
that's-
is-
Every project is different. The precedent really isn't
Okay.
something that's
It's
easily overcome in court.
Okay. Then my
okay, well, that's good, I'm just thinking
I'm
ahead
just-
to avoid,
think that
you know,
I would
that pitfall.
feel a lot more comfortable with what we're doing if he would put in something like, can you show him that picture again?
Do you wanna see
That
it?
type of block
Yeah.
where you've got holes.
Well, I could,
I'm sorry, but holes, I got my heels caught in them. I
Sandy,
don't like
that-
them at
that-
all.
that is
It's a
nothing.
permeable
It's-
driveway
it's a
material.
Yeah.
But the blocks allow for space. But unfortunately, under the blocks is a firm source.
typically, yes. I mean,
Yes,
I
so-
could, I wonder if we could construct that area with crushed stone beneath it and have them build it as it is, but I'd have to look at the other patio, but I have a feeling that sometimes they sweep in the sand in between the,
Yeah.
I guess you could sweep in sand, it's all right, because that would, there's a different type of sand, like a polymeric sand, which kind of hardens up, but I think, I just don't know the makeup of those blocks. There'll be some gap where I could maybe make that last, 10 feet as constructed underneath. There's nothing there now, right now, so it wouldn't be difficult to dig it out, put crushed stone under that section. That would, at least allow for some infiltration through the block. And that might be a trade-off. I'm not proposing anywhere else because I didn't know the makeup of the block. The patio on the other side, it just didn't look like it was something that was constructed with, as a pervious patio at number 8. But
Yeah, but again, that's replacing something that already exists. So
Exactly,
it's- And this is not.
I mean, I don't have, I'd rather some type of hard surface. I don't want to change it from block to crushed stone to.
Correct.
But if we amend the plan to show, I don't know, like at least any area of that walkway in the 30-foot have a crushed stone base as opposed to the gravel base that it looked like he was intended to build the patio.
What is safest for frost heaves?
You probably won't get too much. I mean, you'd get some infiltration into the crushed stone. There's a chance that freezes, or, I mean, if it was kind of like a impervious structure, the water, impervious patio, the water would shed off and really wouldn't infiltrate underneath. That would have the potential to frost heave. It'd be, I guess they both have a chance or the possibility of it, but
Paula Jean, how do you feel about the crushed stone under that area?
I think it's better than solid blocks, but I think there are nicer looking, different kinds of permeable pavers and things that would, you know, for the aesthetic part, are available. Could have it maybe on the other side as well, so it all matches. But because it is in the 30-foot zone, I think it's good we're taking a hard look at it.
I'm glad you are. I just hope you could look at the project as a whole and say, hey, this is, we're adding, even adding all the walkways, I think the site as a whole will be better because we're capturing a lot more surface water runoff from the house.
It's definitely better, yeah.
And we're eliminating a decent amount of grass, 1,100 square feet of grass, right next to the salt marsh, and putting some native plants. So that's a win-win right there. So
That's all good.
it's a good compromise to
All right,
kind of fix
I'm
the
going to ask,
situation.
going around, I believe we should keep both walkways as proposed block walkways, the whole length as presented on the plan. That's my take. Paula Jean.
Okay, so what, I guess I need to know, what specifically are the block walkways? Is it there, it's like I have a patio that's brick set in dirt, you know, sand is in between it. Is it like that, or is it a solid mass? We're not talking cinder blocks. What, describe it to me,
They're patio
please.
blocks, so it's kind of like your bricks, but they're probably
Yeah.
more variable, 8
Like
by 8.
cobbles, look like cobblestone type of things, but more level?
Smooth, yeah, cobbles
Yeah,
usually
more
have
refined.
texture to it, but they're just precast like you typically see at any stockyard, like out in front, or bricks like you have. They're just, they're different shapes. Your brick is maybe like 3 by 6
They're just standard
long.
bricks. It's
Yeah, so these, I think his patio is made with the variety of sized precast where they just kind of
And how
lay 'em
big,
all.
how big is the space in between? It's like, can they have like an inch around them, or are they right up?
No, they typically
up
will
to-
butt right up,
Yeah,
so
they
that
do.
there's no gap in between.
Okay.
I mean, there's a crack enough that, you know, would allow some infiltration into it.
But if the water flows down these two walkways, it will flow onto dirt.
It will flow
Onto
onto
sand.
Grass.
Grass.
Yes, it's a grass
So we're not
area.
losing the water, it's not running off anyplace, it's just going off into the ground,
Yes,
into
it'll
grass.
infiltrate for this small portion.
you know.
You know, it's a smaller area where surface water runoff is. It's not,
So we're not losing the water, it's, instead of being directed under the cobblestones, we're saying it's going to flow down the hill a little bit and go onto the grass.
What's the pitch right in that area?
17 to 16 feet? 18 to 16
it's not
feet.
much
Okay.
pitch on that. It goes from 18 by the carport to
Okay.
maybe 16 and a half to 17.
Because I recall that what we're calling grass, it was pretty scruffy and bare spots. In fact, there was some crushed gravel here and there randomly, like shovels full of it,
So,
sitting on the grass,
A
right?
lot of it was disturbed from the activities that, in between the two houses.
It's a basic
So,
mess, yeah.
But beyond, I think, the area beyond that chain link fence, you can kind of see what the condition of the grass was. And you saw from the pictures, I think,
Yeah.
that we had submitted, it was a grass that, you know, seems like it would capture a decent amount of runoff.
Autumn, any comments on the walkways?
No comments.
Kwame?
I mean, I can see what your comment is and also Denise's. So That being said, I mean, Brad did a nice job explaining what's going on here, so I think we should sort of keep it as is.
As the plan? Denise?
I'm just thinking that we had another project, and then we're still working on this other project, that their driveway also went in to a 30-foot no-activity zone, a short portion of it, and we have asked them to pull the driveway back out of the no-activity zone. Granted that they are not offering mitigated area for it. I have a
You have a problem with
Problem.
any activity in the 30-foot?
I do, but I like the idea of this swapping for this small area, to be flexible with such a small area in view of that. But then I have a problem with, okay, when I go to the next project, do I ask them for mitigation? Or do I just require them to pull out?
Well, it depends on what the project is. You can't very well be, I mean, every time we've asked somebody to undo something, there's been no other land available.
Correct, but I'm thinking of this other project.
Well,
That's before us.
That's another project.
I know, and I can't,
And we do have some flexibility in our bylaw.
we do.
Yep.
I just have,
So what would you
unfortunately.
prefer?
I
No
have-
blocks?
I would prefer no blocks. I would prefer something that there's no blocks in that no activity area. I just don't feel comfortable allowing.
Okay.
Okay?
Is it the runoff that you're worried about?
I'm not worried about the runoff. It's just the activity in the no activity area of a solid block. Do you see
Okay.
what I mean? It's
Joe?
me in a no activity zone.
Joe, your comments?
I have no comments.
Josh, any comment on this?
I don't think so.
I prefer the safety of a continuous surface for walking on. That's just me, as I get older. I don't want to find myself stepping from one type of surface to another, and maybe the non-block area washes away, and then what am I going to do with it? See, I prefer to have a solid block walkway on both sides of the house,
Right,
even
but
though...
A different type of block, is what I'm saying. I
What?
know, Sandy, it's a no activity zone, and you know how,
I know how hard you are on that. You're black
Yes.
and white on it. I'm
Yes.
saying we have to accommodate the safety of a walkway.
I don't know. Well, there is a safety of a walkway, but there are other walkways, types of walkways.
So,
There are stepping stones that you can use. There are
even-
so many other things that you
But
can use.
What
but
about like flagstones with larger spaces of grass in between?
But
They're
keep
flush
it-
with the ground, but.
then I have to mow but the idea is that any water coming off this
It's not
walkway...
it's not the water running off of it. It's,
Then why do
it's
you
a no
care?
activity zone.
It is a,
I understand that.
it's already been
I
active.
just have a lot of problem with, no, that this has not been active. This is,
It's grassed,
right.
so it's been active. It's been they need to walk on it to get to their deck. So they've been walking on that area, on the grass, in order to get to their deck.
Correct.
All right.
It's just me and the no activity
So
zone.
any other comments on this? Anybody online? Joey?
I'll make one comment. If your concern is strictly legally the no activities, and
And
that's what I think it sounds
the
like.
fact that what we have done in the past and what we are going to be doing in other projects before us.
I mean, our
This
job
is
is
where-
to protect
So,
it.
I would
You
make the
can't, I
argument
can't pick
that
and choose who the
Just
laws
Josh.
apply to.
you're right.
But go ahead.
You're right. I would say you don't really have to look at past practice, right?
Okay.
All of you tomorrow could decide you no longer want to be a part of the Conservation Commission. There could be 7 new people up here that don't have
Correct.
the same mindset as you guys.
Correct.
And it's not their responsibility to come in and say, well, this is how the old commission did it. So I don't think you need to rely on past practice. It helps in court if you are going to continue to maintain a precedent.
Yep.
But what holds up better in court is you guys actually setting standards. So if that's where your concern was, I would push you to setting standards rather than maintaining the way you're doing something just to maintain it. If your concern is that you don't feel there's an exemption to allow for this work in the no activity zone, I would say that you could broadly say, you do have an exemption that says, if in the judgment such a reduction of the no activity zone is necessary to accommodate a project that will have an overall benefit to the public and or the environment, I think
Where is that stated?
under exemptions, number 1, letter C.
All right, tell it to me again.
If in its judgment such a reduction is necessary to accommodate a project that will have an overall benefit to the public and or the environment. It gives
Okay.
2 examples. It says,
Let me finish.
it says a sewer expansion project or a wildlife enhancement project.
So the wildlife enhancement portion would apply because they're building the area down by the water?
I think if your concern was legally,
Yes.
you could make that argument
Okay.
and stand
All
by
right.
it.
Thank you.
Any other comments on this particular project as the plan we have presented? What it is that we maintaining the fence and allowing it to be extended around the house. Putting the fence in ahead of time, to me, is a $300 fine. Putting in the existing paved driveway ahead of time is a $300 fine. Removing all the soil in the front of the house is another $300 fine. So, to me...
How much of a fine are you proposing?
For each...
Total.
She's up to 900
I'm
right
up to
now.
900 right now.
All right.
Is there anything else that, they remove the soil, they're going to have to put it back?
Correct.
The existing paveway parking lot was put in without our approval. We would not have allowed, we had no discussion on it, it appeared. $300 fine for that. Putting in the fence without approval, another $300 fine. So right now, I'm up to 900. Is there anything else that was done on this project that we should consider fining?
It doesn't seem very steep, considering
Well,
that
I-
we were aghast when we saw it.
The other items that I thought of was vegetation removal and work in general in the 30-foot no-activity zone, but I wanted to lump that together, and I came up with a $900 fine also.
Well, I just said 900.
Correct,
Yeah,
but I came up with it differently.
well, it's still, we
The
had...
$900 fine.
To me, the removing of the soil, which was altering a 30-foot no-activity zone.
Right,
And that's going to, they're going to bring it back to a 14-foot,
Correct. He's
14
doing
to
the
12 foot.
restoration
Yes.
necessary, the required restoration, and he's being fined in
Yep.
in $300 increments for work that would not have been approved.
Each project, each violation done without approval will hit with a $300 fine. Anybody else have any comment on this project at 4 Candia Street? Comments, Josh?
None.
Nobody else commenting on this? Are we ready to close it?
Move to
Or
close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstain. We're 500. We've closed the hearing. Now, someone want to take a motion, Josh, your recommendation, standard order of conditions and fines?
I'll say a standard order of conditions, the lines, the fines as listed, and I would say, Brad, can you get me a square foot number for the amount of work in the 30-foot no activity zone?
I could submit that, yeah.
Okay, I would want to tie that into the order of conditions as
Yep.
well,
That it's limited to,
that it's limited to that number of square feet.
and then could,
Do
Do
you
we
want me
have the
to,
square-
sorry, do you want me to exclude the area underneath the deck? Or do you want to include that? Because the deck is within the 30-foot. There is work.
There is work underneath the deck.
but there's no problem with that work underneath the deck, because it was already,
It happened before our, yeah,
what do you call it?
Disturbed.
Thank you. I can't, at this point, my
Yeah, I know it's getting late.
It's, I mean,
It was,
Just
it was
the square footage of the walkway.
a walkway.
That's fine.
Could we also get the square footage, or do we have the square footage of the mitigated area in comparison?
1,100 square feet.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything new that is on the plan, like this walkway, I called out 174 square feet, this walkway, 79. I had put all the areas on the plan.
Okay. Nothing else? I think we have a motion.
We don't yet. Somebody has to move it.
I have a motion. I heard a so moved.
Second?
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye opposed? Aye. In favor? Opposed? Abstained.
I'm going to oppose. I
So the
just
vote
have
is
to.
4-1-0 because of the 30-foot no work zone?
Correct.
4-1-0. All right. You know, don't do anything until you see Josh. Now we're on to 6-8 Candia Lane. Candy.
Kennedy.
Candy.
This one gonna be a
Kennedy.
little easier?
It should be.
I don't think there's anything here other than,
So the proposed work from this point forward is the planting of some arborvitaes along the property line for buffering and screening. The walls that were replaced, the patio that was placed, we submitted pictures. It looks like everything was in the same exact footprint.
but they did it without our approval.
Did it without your approval.
So there's a fine.
Understood. But other than that, there's nothing else at number 8 that would need to be discussed.
Anybody has any
in this.
questions on number 8?
No questions?
No questions.
All right. We're going to close the hearing?
Do we have to discuss the fines before we close it, or
We can do it, no, we can
do
do
we
it
have
after
to
we
move to
close the
close the
hearing.
hearing?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500 to close the hearing. Now, your recommendation, George, standard order of conditions
Standard order of conditions.
in a 300, in a,
One sec.
sorry,
Can you clarify, is that existing float still located where it is?
Float's gone.
Okay, thank you.
It's up by the shed. And the gangway, as he called it, the ramp.
so,
Sitting on top of the float, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Standard order conditions and a $300 fine for doing the work without approval.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstains, 500, done.
Thank you.
This owner was very lucky to get out with this. I mean, what he's done for soil removal and what he's done for his liability of a flood zone,
I understand.
does he? Okay,
And if you bring a project like this again in the future, you need to bring the Tylenol with you.
the next one we have is 20 Roosevelt Street.
I have one online.
Someone stayed?
No.
There's quite a few people online, actually.
This is
Whoa.
what, number 10?
Okay,
7 online.
Entertainment.
we have 20 Roosevelt Street. And who's here representing that project?
I'm letting in Will Connolly.
You said Bill Conway?
Will Connolly.
Will Connolly. Thank you.
Connelly.
All right.
It's in and right.
Good night.
Stay.
What's the score? No idea what the Mets are doing? Okay.
0-0, I think.
All right. Will? Is he muted?
Will, whenever you're ready.
Identify yourself, please.
It's not muted.
Can he
Hey,
hear
Will,
us?
take off your hat if you can hear us.
He can't hear us.
You can't hear us.
Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Okay, I can hear you guys as well.
Please identify yourself.
Will Connolly, Zenith Consulting Engineers.
Okay, Will, I'm going to ask you to stand and raise your right hand. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth regarding 20 Roosevelt Street project. Thank you. I do. Okay, done, thanks. Okay, talk to us about this project.
All right, so the site is 20 Roosevelt Street. There's an existing salt marsh to the rear of the property, as well as an isolated wetland across Roosevelt Street. And the entire site is in land subject to coastal storm flowage, elevation 20 and 18. There's an existing single-family dwelling on site, which we're proposing to be relocated and raised up to get the finished first floor out of the flood zone. And then piles will be driven to support the house. There's also a proposed deck, which will be attached to the house, wrapping around the rear and the side. And we're proposing, I believe it's like a 10-foot wide paved driveway, which will go under the house, as well as a portion of the existing driveway to be widened. There is some work that's going to be within the 30-foot no activity zone, but the house is being pushed further away from the resource area. And we are proposing silt sock, which will basically wrap around the entire site for erosion control, and that will stay in place until the site is completely stabilized. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay. Will, I'm going to say, that existing house is going to be put on stilts.
Correct.
So it is going to be a relocation. Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask around for questions. Paula Jean.
No, that was news to me. I thought it said raise the house, R-A-Z-E.
Yeah, I don't know if there was a confusion with the word raised.
Yeah.
Not sure.
I don't have any questions at this time.
Autumn.
No questions, thank you.
Kwame.
You mentioned some proposed work in a no activity zone. What does that consist of?
So in order to relocate the house, they'll have to do some earth disturbing activity within that zone. But essentially the entire structure will be moved out of that, so it is getting further away from the resource area. There's also a tree that's going to be removed, which is located within that 30-foot no activity zone.
Thank you.
Denise.
The driveway, the end of it is in the no activity zone, correct? The back portion of it?
No, the existing driveway it's just outside of it, probably about like 5 feet or so.
But I'm seeing a red line running through the driveway at the,
No, the driveway doesn't go that far.
Driveway.
yeah, the existing paved driveway.
I think the driveway.
It's right
comes
there.
out.
It ends here?
Yes.
Okay, oh, thank heavens.
And then the expansion
I
of
thought the driveway went all the way down, and I'm trying to figure it out. Yeah, I thought it went all the way out to here. Okay, so then the only thing, I don't see then any work within the no activity zone. What are you,
Well, he has to remove the bricks that are part of the foundation of the house.
It's not.
Right, we're not proposing any structures in the no activity zone. It's just going to be, there will be some activity
in there.
just to remove the house.
okay,
He's just stating that there is work proposed in it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like there's any sustained,
correct.
well, if you want to get technical, there's a small corner of the
Yeah,
deck that's
itty bitty
staying.
corner of it, okay.
But
Yeah,
it's-
no, I thought the driveway went all the
Oh,
way
no,
down,
no.
and I was having an absolute heart attack. I was going to definitely reach for Tylenol, but, okay, no questions, thank you.
No questions from me
Joe,
either.
thank you. Comments, please. Josh?
The only thing I would say is there is the removal of the tree. Maybe you should have the one replanted.
The oak, or the?
There's a tree out
There's a
front.
little Japanese.
There's a
The-
Japanese maple out front.
It's the tree
Yeah.
that's at the end of the existing driveway. That's gonna
Okay.
be removed.
So then it's 2 trees.
It's just the one to the, it would be the left of the house if you're looking from the street.
Well, what are you doing with the red maple that's in the front of the house?
Well, actually, yeah, I guess that tree would be removed as well. Yeah, we just didn't note it, but that is within the buffer zone as well.
Okay, so will they then be replacing 2 trees?
I'm sure that's something that they would possibly be amenable to.
Okay, thank you.
How will you take care of the existing foundation blocks?
I'm guessing they'll just be trucked straight off site. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest.
yeah.
That'd be more a question for whoever's doing the site work out there.
So they'd have to clear the site of everything when they start raising the house.
Would that include, is the little cement pad with a grill and a little picnic table?
To me,
It's in
that's
the
probably,
30-foot
that's
zone.
probably all have to come out, because
Yeah.
that's what you see. If you look at the plan, there's very light markings to show the existing site. Existing tree to remove, land claimed by oh, that's something else.
Yeah, what's with that?
That's not us.
But I did notice the cement thing and the grill and that.
I see that.
I'm pretty sure that's within 30 feet.
I'm sure that's all coming out, because they're taking that house and moving it up
Yeah.
higher, which means they've got to clear have to clear under the house in order to make that move. Is there a cellar?
I don't believe so. I believe it's just on
On
it's a
blocks?
block. Yeah.
All right, Josh, your recommendation?
It'd be the standard order of conditions, and it sounds like there's 2 trees that you want replanted.
So moved. Oh, wait, first we have to close the
No,
hearing.
Yep.
Second?
Yeah.
I have a motion to close the hearing. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
500, the hearing is closed.
I motion to issue the standard order of conditions with the relocation of 2 trees, or replanting.
Replanting of 2 trees. So moved.
And so that's the motion, and that second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
opposed, abstain. We're closed. And Will, you've got the project, don't do any work until you get the paperwork from Josh, okay?
Okay, thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you for hanging in there.
Have a good
Next
night.
one, please, 34 Briarwood Drive. Reagan, anybody here for that? Where'd he go? Where's my Briarwood farm?
Where am I? Where's my? Number 11, 34 Briarwood Drive. Paul who?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, your last name?
Paul Seberg from Grady Consulting.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to find my paperwork on this project.
11. I don't see it. Mine either.
Sorry, talk to us about the project, please.
Do you want me to stand up and raise my hand?
Yes.
Oh, we got to swear him in.
Well, your continued hearing, didn't you speak to us prior on this?
No, we had to continue because we didn't have the abutters notified in time.
So please stand.
Yep.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth regarding the project at 34 Briarwood Drive?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. So as I said, I'm Paul Seberg from Grady Consulting. So this project is located at 34 Briarwood Drive. Currently, the site consists of an existing single-family dwelling. There's an existing salt marsh resource area to the north and east that extends out to the Wewiantic River. with a 200-foot riverfront area associated with it. The project is located within a FEMA flood zone, VE elevation 20 and 21, and land subject to coastal storm flowage. It's also located within a NHESP priority habitat. What the applicant would like to do here is construct a 92-foot long, 3-foot wide elevated walkway with a 6-foot by 8-foot platform at the end. The dock will be supported by 16 wooden posts and elevated 5 feet above the salt marsh, which would provide the recommended 1.5 to 1 height to width ratio. The project will require a Chapter 91 license as well as an Army Corps permit. And I'd be happy to turn it over to any questions the commission may have.
All right, we all got the information from the Division of Marine Fisheries dated October 3rd, 24, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Where I start asking the questions. Paula Jean.
I did not reread the letter before the meeting, but I believe we have some shellfish concerns for this project. I don't have any other questions right now.
Autumn.
No questions, thank you.
Kwame.
Not at this time, thank you.
Denise.
Looking at the letter from the Division of Marine Fisheries, the project site lies within mapped shellfish habitat. The land contains shellfish deemed significant to the interest of the Wetlands Protection Act. The Wewianic system has been identified as, and I never say this word right, diadromous, fish passage, migration, and spawning habitat. There's also spawning habitat for white winter flounder, and the habitat area is of particular concern. It's been labeled as that by the DEP. Flounder stock, and every effort should be made to protect the species in its spawning habitat. A new pier has the potential to negatively impact nearby shellfish resource fisheries in a variety of ways. Some are unavoidable and will result in permanent impacts. C.9, in conjunction with our bylaws, is where that comes into effect. Shellfish habitat. Associated boating activity could result in prop dredging, and foot traffic through the marsh area will also directly impact the marsh habitat. Section 16, involving coastal structures, C9. Where is it?
So you are reading from the October 3rd, 2024 Division of Marine Fisheries document.
Correct.
Okay,
In
thank you.
addition to the, what is this stated as? The Wareham Protective Bylaw, Section 16, coastal structures, C.9. Shellfish habitat evaluation. Piers shall not be allowed to be constructed within significant shellfish habitat as determined by the DMF and/or the Wareham Shellfish Constable. In this case, it's the DMF that has evaluated it as a shellfish habitat. Salt marshes, in order to minimize the destruction of the salt marsh, will have a maximum width of salt marsh to be traversed as part of the pier proposal shall be 75 feet. I was looking at something that said 95 feet on it. I've lost the
Yes, it was
plan. But I'm looking for the measurement from the property line to where you're starting this pier within the salt marsh. What is that length of salt marsh activity? They'll be walking straight through the salt marsh.
So are you referring to the pier that's over the salt marsh or the...
The area that you'll be walking in to get to the pier is
Okay.
what length?
Okay, across the salt marsh to get to the start of the stairs.
Correct.
Okay, let me just give you that dimension real quick.
I cannot find my copy of the plan for the life of me here.
So that is approximately 60 feet.
Okay, so then it is under the 75-foot, but then we've got a 95-foot pier that's
So-
going out.
To give you a little bit more information, the span from the edge of the lawn area to across the entire salt marsh to where the mud flats start,
Yeah.
that's 100 feet long. So we took that into consideration with our design. There was two options. We could either propose it to go all the full 100 feet across the salt marsh, and request a variance from the commission to increase that from 75 feet to 100 feet. The client preferred to just try to keep the dock shorter, so that's why we went with this approach, which would still give him the access to the water that he would like.
But it's still not within the 75-foot?
So right now, we only have the structure itself spanning the salt marsh is only 40 feet.
But they're walking through,
They're walking through the salt marsh area to get to the stairs, correct?
and that area is what?
That the length of that is 60 feet.
So 60 plus 40 gives us 100 feet. It's still not 75 feet, correct?
Right. We're not spanning 75 feet with a structure, which I believe that's what the regulations say. We
just
are
says the
walking 60
transverse.
feet across, walking 60 feet across the salt marsh by foot, but no structure is 60 feet or greater than the 75 feet.
It says, okay, so it's less than the 75 feet because you're at 60 feet, and then you're going to a 95-foot pier.
Correct, yes.
But we are stating that it's within shellfish habitat, per the DMF. Right?
Right. I believe all the river areas would be considered in a shellfish habitat.
Well, I'm going by the letter from October 3rd that has quite a few, one, two, three, four major concerns in terms of shellfish habitat. Significant shellfish is deemed, land containing shellfish is deemed significant. There's also spawning habitat, and flounder spawning habitat is a habitat area of particular concern. So you're hitting 4 different areas that are not
Right.
conducive to doing what you want to do.
They go on to comment within their letter, also stating the impacts, but they're associated with, they reference, crop wash, and typically a float would have some impacts, raising and lowering float stops. We're not proposing any sort of ramp or float in the situation. There's not going to be any boat activity.
Well, there's no boat
As far as
activity.
impacts, correct. So those are the main impacts. They also talk about leaching from the timbers as well.
Okay, but you
And
can't
the
guarantee.
town has bylaw where they don't allow timber wood, leaching treated wood for dock projects.
Right, but you can't guarantee that there won't be a boat at the end of this dock.
There's no water.
They're not allowed to, according to your regulations.
Okay, but there could be if somebody decides to do that.
Yeah, I mean, if they decide to do that, you're right. That could happen.
Right. Okay, well,
And then to also comment on the impacts, the only direct impacts are going to be the actual piles going into the ground, which we are proposing 8 by 8 inch piles at a maximum, which would be a half a square foot. So the direct impacts to that resource area are only going to be 12 piles within that area, and they only have a half a square foot of surface area. So you're looking at 6 square feet of impacts, direct impacts to that resource area.
If you don't count the marsh you have to walk on.
right,
Right, yeah, so obviously
And all the
walking,
habitats that
traversing
are-
across the walk, yeah.
that you're,
Okay.
And I don't know if the commission had a chance to go out there and kind of look at the marsh.
Yes.
The vegetation is somewhat different than your typical salt marsh vegetation to where we started the stairs. It's kind of like a lower lying vegetation before you get, and that's the other reason why we chose that location for the stairs, because that's right before you get to the taller salt marsh vegetation that's like a couple feet tall.
I don't have any more questions. Do you have any?
Joe?
No questions from me.
Josh, any comments?
The letter from DMF identifies it as significant shellfish habitat.
It is very specific. Yes, it is.
And a
The way your
habitat.
bylaw is written, you have grounds for a denial.
Yeah.
And to be consistent, we've used the document from the DEMF as a foundation for denials in the past. Is there anything online? Nobody wants to comment on this project? No hands raised? Any other comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say, in our bylaw, section 16C9 says, shellfish habitat evaluation, piers shall not be allowed to be constructed within significant shellfish habitat as determined by the DMF, and there
Yes.
it is. So I think
Correct.
we'd be in violation of our own bylaw if we allow the
Yes.
project.
You are correct.
I motion to close the hearing.
I have a motion to close the hearing. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I opposed, abstain. All right, someone take a motion. Josh, your recommendation.
You would motion to deny the project based off of the regulation under the bylaw, which is
16.
16C9.
Section 16,
Nine.
coastal
Sorry,
structures.
I get too many, what is it?
section 16,
C.9.
section C, which is design specifications for coastal residential docks and piers. Number 9, shellfish habitat evaluation. Piers shall not be allowed to be constructed within significant shellfish habitat as determined by the DMF and/or the Wareham Shellfish Constable.
Have we heard anything from Mr. Buckminster on this?
No.
Okay, and the letter of October 3rd from DMF indicates this to be a mapped shellfish habitat. So we've closed the hearing. Someone would like to take a motion as specifically as possible.
Move to deny the project based on the Division of Marine Fisheries letter of October 3rd and our bylaws, Section 16, coastal structures, C.9.
Second.
That is the motion. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, all opposed, abstain, restain.
It's been a long night.
Yes. Opposed, what's the
It's
word?
abstained.
Abstained. God, it's been a long one. Vote, please. Aye. Approval?
We ayed.
We already did that.
Then it's 500.
0-0
To deny.
to deny.
All right, I'm sorry. We've
Well,
divided.
thank you. Have a good night.
Good night. Anybody else online? All right. We still have 4 people on. Wow.
The one we
Okay.
tabled.
The next one, please. We have an extension request. Josh?
I would recommend that you approve the extension request for a 1-year extension as laid out in your bylaw.
This is 31 and 33 Prospect Street. The recommendation is a 1-year extension. I need a motion.
I move that we allow a 1-year extension on this
I have
project.
that motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained. We're 500. Next, please.
Continued enforcements.
I believe you have representatives for 200 Great Neck online.
Do we have any paperwork on it?
I think he's going to speak to that.
Okay, please All right. Please identify yourself.
Hi, everyone. Yes, my name's Don Bracken. I'm a professional engineer and professional land surveyor with the Bracken Engineering from Buzzards Bay. I also have the owner on, David Sylvester. David hired us to work on the property in order to address this enforcement order. David is he's a young person, just bought the house, didn't realize that doing work within the buffer zone required any permits. Basically what he did was he improved the driveway that was there by adding gravel. He did expand the driveway. So far, we've been working to address everything. We've had the wetlands flagged. We've completed the survey of the property. We've done an existing conditions plan, which I have forwarded over to Josh. At the same time, we're upgrading the septic system. So our intent is to, come back with one full application that addresses the enforcement order and also addresses the septic system that needs to be upgraded. The work that was done was all within an existing disturbed area. Pretty much it was mainly grass and overgrown. The property has been abandoned for some time. So, in this particular location, there needs to be some kind of driveway you can turn around in. You can see where we've located the edge of the driveway that was built in the portion that's within the 30-foot no touch zone or buffer zone. What we intend on doing is redesigning the driveway, obviously, so that there's no driveway within that zone, and coming back with a plan that plants that 30-foot zone and reestablishes it as natural vegetation. It does look like there has been some history of, earth moving and disturbance in that area. I think by the time this project is completed and the plans are done and constructed, I think it's going to be an overall improvement to what was there before, especially considering that the septic system will be upgraded from a cesspool to a new Title V system with an IA system. So we appreciate your patience. Things have been, it's not an easy job and things have been busy. We're doing the best we can to address it. The septic design is pretty much completed, and we plan on filing the application with the commission in about 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, Don, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
David, who did the work for you? Who violated the wetland bylaw?
David did the work himself. He's in the construction business.
So he had
He doesn't
no
live at
idea
the house
about-
full time yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
A construction business who had no idea about wetlands. Okay. So there's more coming?
Yeah.
You're going to wait until your septic is completed before you give us a plan for mitigation for the new driveway and the septic system? If I hear that right?
That's correct. We want to give you one comprehensive plan so you can write one order of conditions, and I'm confident we'll be able to,
Do you have a
address the
time
work that's
frame?
been done.
Do you have a time frame we can see this plan?
Yeah, as I said, in 2 to 3 weeks, we should have the application submitted with the plan.
So for our next meeting in November.
Can you make it by November 6th, or?
We can submit the application and the plan by November 6th. Is that the deadline for the?
Is that our next meeting?
No, the deadline is
That would be your next meeting, but
The deadline has to be a week before that.
10 days.
10 days?
So
I
if it's
expect we
Not-
need it now to get it on for the 6th,
All right, so when's the meeting after that?
Yeah.
20th.
Okay, so, and then he would have to have it in 10 days prior to that, so we'd have to have it
Yeah,
in by
so if he
November.
has it submitted by November 6th, it's time for the November 20th meeting. 20th? So Dawn, can we plan on an 11/20
Yep.
meeting?
Yes,
Full
absolutely.
plans- The full plans to Josh by November 6th, so we can do all our paperwork. Okay.
Yes.
Anything else for
We
these
appreciate that.
two gentlemen?
And we'll discuss fines at that time.
Yes, when we see the plan. Josh, anything else on this? So We'll look forward to hearing you, seeing your documents and seeing you on the 20th.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Bayview Park, did you find out about the tree they want to take down?
The tree they took down.
What?
They
I
took
went
it,
out there and it was gone. Yeah.
So,
Why'd they do it?
municipal maintenance chose among themselves to cut it down? Or is there a contractor for this project?
I think VHB is the contractor for this project.
Who?
VHB.
Okay. Can we find them? It's going to end up being the town paying for it anyway, but how annoying that they asked us whether or not we could take it down. They chose to take it down without our approval.
Correct.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm rip shit.
No, I don't blame you for being upset.
Yeah.
Fining really doesn't do anything.
No, it doesn't do any good.
Then
Can
the
we-
question becomes, plant a new one or two.
correct. Can we require them to replace the tree?
I want to see the, right now they have a replanting plan, correct?
They have a planting plan.
A
yes.
planting plan, especially to remove the trees that have already been taken down. So, what type of tree came down? Locust?
It was a locust tree.
The only one they removed, or was
Oh, no, there were
Well, this-
plenty
that was the
removed.
only one in discussion,
That
right?
was, yeah.
That was it, when it was
Come back.
That we spent an
There were
hour on.
trees that were approved
But
to
we-
be removed.
yes.
This was not one of them.
This was not one.
Okay, so they did do another one.
Okay, so let's say they give us three new trees to replace this one, and I would like to have them show us where they plan to replant the 3 locusts. I want to see a position where they're going to plant them, and I want the same tree type replaced. Whatever variety of locust this was. So I want 3 trees to replace the one that was cut down without our approval.
And not little saplings.
Well, no, there has to
We
be
want
a
a decent-sized tree.
in their plan, they've always given us a decent-sized tree in their plan yes. You know, when I want more than a 5-gallon, what is a typical tree, you're right, I don't want something
world's
that's an
biggest
inch
tree.
wide.
Honey locust is what
Honey
the tree
locust.
It was
was.
a honey
And before VHB gets mad at me, it's Weston and Sampson who was,
The engineer.
yeah.
Yeah, it is the west, yes.
Yeah, Weston and
Okay.
Sampson.
Okay, tree was removed.
And that will be at no cost to the town, correct? The contractor will be,
It's going to be part of our,
Shoot ourselves in the foot.
sorry.
What?
I believe that it should not be of cost to the town.
I mean,
The
unless
entire
they can
project is the cost
specifically
of the
say,
town.
so-and-so
I
told me
know.
to do it.
Well, who told them to cut it down?
They're all gonna point the finger.
3 trees is appropriate. I don't think you need to worry about.
Yeah.
of substantial size, and that they live for 3 years.
Okay.
If they don't live for 3 years, they get replaced until they do live for 3 years. Oh,
Whatever.
it's just like cutting all those trees on the damn bluff. All along for the view, and we don't know who's been cutting them, and never mind. All right, wetland regulations, I'm not ready to take that this late at night.
It's there. If you
Yes,
have
you've been
comments,
passed-
send them to me.
Thank you.
Yep, so,
I'll make one point that Denise has made to me. Do not be concerned with the formatting. Be concerned with the context. The formatting will be addressed at the end.
okay.
Can I just add one more thing? Can we take a look at number 33 Briarwood Drive? They have some stepping stones going through the marsh out to a dock.
House on the other side, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I don't know if that's allowed or not allowed, but I think we should take a look at it if we can.
Okay.
Josh, could I get a printed copy of that bylaw?
course.
Thank you. I thought, oh, I'll print this, it's probably 4 pages, and then I kept reading, and I kept reading.
Okay.
It's a lot.
Yes.
Administrative approvals, anything?
None,
Bylaw revision update, nothing?
nothing.
Workshop, nothing. Consent agenda. I haven't seen, I saw the minutes for the 18th, but I never reviewed them, and I don't think they were sent out.
So, the only reason I hadn't sent those out because there was a discussion, you wanted me to talk to town council about formatting of minutes, what is appropriate, what's not appropriate. There were 2 sets of the September 18th meeting minutes that our minute taker had done. I presented both of those to Rich Bowen, our town council, and he said the shorter set of minutes were appropriate and adequate.
Okay, and we've not seen the sort of shorter set of minutes.
Okay, I'll
Because
be,
what I did see was 8, 7, I saw a lengthy one, I never saw a shortened one.
okay, I can get that to you.
Will our minute taker still do for us?
She online? No? I believe so.
Okay,
I think that's where the conversation ended.
okay,
So-
so I've not seen October 2nd, so she needs to, you inform her of the town council's recommendation for formats for the
Yes.
minutes.
And as I said, it was adequate and appropriate.
So, okay, so we are not,
So I'll get you sets of minutes that need to be
all right.
reviewed and
Any bills? Have we paid our people yet?
I have
No.
not yet been reimbursed.
No?
You're kidding.
No. We're past 1 year mark.
Holy guacamole.
No, I submitted the bills and the treasurer said they were working on year-end accounting and it could not be expedited as I requested.
So-
Thank you for.
Our
we
year-end
should tell
closed
them
some
that when
time
they
ago,
send us
because
our
we
tax bill.
reconciled CPC almost 3 weeks ago, so
It
we
had
were
something to
closed.
do with year-end free cash or something. Believe me,
Okay,
their,
okay.
their bills were not the only ones that
No.
did not get processed.
Sorry,
So,
yes, free cash has not been certified yet, and they're trying to get it done in time for town meeting, so we can have disbursement of the free cash, so
I will make another request.
please.
That is separate from the approval that the Conservation Commission approved for the budget for the education reimbursement? Because we did approve those education.
Yes.
Right.
books too?
Yes. Wait, I'm a little confused on what we're talking about.
I'm a little confused.
Your situation is being addressed. That's not a problem.
And they know that we're not happy.
Yes.
All right, folks, anything else? Anything, Mr., anything you'd like to add before we say goodnight at 9:15?
Good night.
I motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to
9:12.
adjourn at 9:12.
Second it.
I have a motion. I heard a second. All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good night. We have paperwork to sign.